All right, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I got so excited, I clapped and I knocked the microphone all over the place. I got to watch out when I go to clap. All right, welcome to Friday Night Torah Study. Yeah. All right, so I know Elder normally does this, and he's out of town, so we're going to have me do this today. And so we're going to lead and begin with prayer and praise. So first of all, welcome to our Torah study. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go through a breakdown of a Torah portion. We're going to read a Torah portion. This is the cycle that goes from Genesis through Deuteronomy in 1 year. All right, right now we're in Exodus, chapter 18. And so we're going to be going through that portion that would be for this week. Okay? And after we read it, we'll have some announcements. Brianna's going to come up and lead us through the announcements. And then I will be coming back to do the discussion and give some insights into this week's Torah portion. Okay? All right, so we'll begin with praise and prayer. We'll begin with Mr. John.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.
This week I have been tested and seen how far I've really grown in my walk. Last Sunday,
What grade did you get?
Last Sunday, my car had issues. The engine light came on, and then it was the timing belt went. And then I turned it into the shop, and the shop said the engine is fried. But normally I'll be going crazy and wondering what I'm going to do next and this and that. But surprisingly, I just called up a brother and helped me get me home. And I was able to get into my other vehicle, get it re-registered, and get it all taken all calmly and patiently. And I never freaked out, never lost my mind.
That's at least a B plus. No. Oh, excellent job.
So that's a praise that Yah gave me that experience.
Well, good. I give you an A. Good job. All right, Michael.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.
So I have two praises, and one is that before Agnes was born, I wanted to do daddy-daughter dancing. If I'd ever be fortunate enough to have a daughter, I did, but with all her medical complications, it looked like that was never going to happen. But I got to do that after Shabbat services last week. After the sun went down and everything was good, I went over to Southern Charm, where they had a daddy-daughter dance there. It was a lot of fun. And it was a good
Awesome.
father-daughter bonding experience. The other praise that I have is that, I guess my dog passing away isn't really a praise, but the fact that we had the ability to, we had the foresight that we knew that was going to happen. We were able to prep the kids, and so they didn't lose their absolute minds when it happened. They were like, okay, we kind of knew this was coming, so I praise Yahweh for that.
Amen. And look, I certainly can relate to and appreciate the opportunity to do a daddy-daughter dance. You know, when we first moved here, and for a short while, my daughter was in public school, and they had a daddy-daughter dance. Of course, it was Friday night. I had explained to her that it was Shabbat, we couldn't do it, and she was actually totally understood. And what she was mad was, why would they do this on a Friday night? And but we did get to go actually to the same dance you went to. We got to do that when she was a lot older, just to have that opportunity to go and have that dance. So, just to have that opportunity. All right, Amy.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I have a public service announcement. I'm off my meds. So
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, just beware. It's the authentic me. And digging around, figure out why you do what you do. This isn't me. That has its own name. That's not me. Being told by my two older sisters that I don't belong because I don't look like anybody, so I must be adopted. My dad didn't know if I was his or not. Maybe I had brain damage because I got into our mother's sleeping pills when I was 3. And I had a boyfriend that told me if I didn't get on meds that he couldn't stay with me. And I'm like, you know what? I wonder if they have a pill for assholeitis. Instead of
that is a medical term. It's okay for her to say it.
Yeah. So itis means inflammation, you know.
Right.
So
yeah. Okay.
So anyway. So it's just me, and
holy was spelled H-O-L-Y. So I understand that you were talking about a medical condition. Yes, I get it.
So I know who I am, and it's worth it. It was worth the trip, and I'm so thankful that I was born into the family that I had, and that I had this journey that brought me here. And I've learned
now you have
so
us.
much. Yeah, and I am so excited about the future. And I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah.
I just right here and forward. So thank you for your teachings, because all you can do is lay it down. We have to pick it up.
All right. All of a sudden, I'm back in the 70s where you say, I'm picking up what you're laying down. Pick up the pieces. All right, sorry. Some of you know that song. I mean, look, it was just by an average white band anyway, so. Well, that's actually the name of the band. Don't think I was being racist there for a second. Okay. Anyway.
Shabbat shalom.
Mark, how are you?
Good, great. I finally made it here.
So this is Mr. Mark Neal, everybody. And I'm only saying that because Mark and I know each other a long time as he's been trying to get here and get going. So, I mean,
8 years.
yeah. So you don't maybe know him, but I do.
Yeah, so just happy to be here. I'm ecstatic and just praises for, a request for some relationship healing I had to get over with coming here.
All right, we certainly do that. Awesome. And we're glad to have you here finally. It's been a long journey. And look, a lot of you guys, it's really not any of your business, but I'm going to tell you something, even though it's not, is that, Mark, it's not unlike a lot of you. I mean, you guys have the same kind of problem, some of you guys that are trying to get here, but, he had some things that were a struggle for him to fix, and he needed to fix them, and he has. And I'm very proud of him for that, but it took a while to get to that place where he was ready to do what needed to be done. And so that journey, and he'll tell you, I never judged him in it. I talked to him straight whenever we talked. I told him what he needed to do, and I was just glad that you worked through that journey, and now you're here. Okay, and so let there be encouragement to the rest of you. He part of his not being here was because he wasn't ready to do what he needed to do, and then he did, and that's what we're proud of you. Good job. All right. And I can promise you, it wasn't easy. The things that he had to do, it was hard stuff. Okay, and just so you know, all of you got your own hard stuff. Okay, and you have to go through that and journey through it. But just know that if you're working with us, we're waiting, we're patient, we got you in prayer, we got that hope that you'll get here, get it worked out, And so, so that's why I'm excited when someone like Mark shows up, because I've been a part of understanding some of that struggle. So it's a good job. All right, Melissa.
Hello. I think all my bosses have assholitis, or whatever you call it, because today we had some words. Today we got a phone call, and with my partner, we switch off. There's two of us at the gates, and we switch off every hour on the hour. And so she came down and she said, they said that they want you to work till 7 o'clock tonight, or will you? And I said, no, absolutely not. I have a doctor's appointment, and it's the Sabbath, and they all know that. No ifs, ands, or buts. And so then the guy that was the trainer, he sent his people down there for us to train, and so he wasn't doing his job. And so the VW guy that's over us now, they're cracking down on him. So he's the assistant now. So he called me and he said, you're going to have to work till 7. You don't have no choice. I said, oh, I have a choice, and I'm not going to do it. And he said, you have to. I said, no, I'll leave my badge on the desk, and you can come get it right now if that's what you want to do, because I have a doctor's appointment that I've had for 3 months, and under no circumstances, come sundown, will I be sitting here. I said, I'm leaving when my shift's over. I'm in school, and I've told you that I'm not available. And so then I called Marlene for prayer, and then I called you. And then he saw me on the phone with you. So 10 minutes later, isn't that remarkable? He had someone to cover my shift. He was trying to bully me. And I said, no. I said, it will become a legal issue. And I said, there's going to be some other legal issues, and we're going to discuss those, because I'm done with you and your crap. So So anyway, then this week I was on the bridge. We switch every hour, and it's very cold. Oh, and 7 guards quit this week, so next week all of them get to play us. And so I hope they're on the front lines, and homeboys come with their Glocks and, fire at them, because they put us on the front line, don't warn us. And then all the people go next door and smoke pot and all this stuff. It's a crazy place to be. So I hope their heater goes out, and because
No. You just want the hot coals poured on their head. I understand what you're trying to say.
No, they make us sit there with no heaters. When they steal our heaters, they burn out. They don't furnish them. We put our money together, and we sit on a 0-degree bridge. So, may Yahweh bless them as well.
There you go.
So anyway, you reap what you sow.
So basically, in Southern talk, you're saying bless their heart.
Bless your heart.
Okay.
I am a Southern girl. I know how to say bless your heart, and I have a shirt that says so. There's 2 ways to say bless your heart, and one I say a lot is when you really mean, bless your heart, you poor dear. Another one was when the secretary says, oh, my husband does this and he does that, and he's sleeping with the secretary. And I say either you're blind or you're just plain turn a blind eye. So bless your heart, then that's how you say that.
Right.
But so anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just feeling my eat.
We just had Southern Speak 101. That's okay. We could use the education sometimes.
So anyway, I was on the bridge this week, and it was a little warmer. So I was sitting there, and there were some things that happened there, and I was kind of upset about them. But this song kept coming through my mind, Rejoice, O Daughter of Zion. And all of a sudden, I saw this airplane take off. I can sit on the bridge and watch the planes take off from the Chattanooga airport. And so I thought how wonderful it would be to be able to fly a plane. I really want to fly a plane next. That's what I want to do. So then all of a sudden, it's like this, they all just lifted. And I said, Rejoice, O daughter of Zion. And all of a sudden, I thought, I'm a daughter of Zion because I can be. He called me. And it's just like it went in my spirit, Mm-hmm. And so it's just like a veil lifted. And I realized I can be a daughter of Zion, And then the stuff breaks loose. And I was tried a little bit. But I was like, no, I'm going to Torah Study. It's Friday night. Come 6 o'clock, I will be there or shortly after. But, they know better. So I'm just grateful that you're my rabbi, that we have a teacher, and you've taught us to stand our ground, And I do appreciate it. And bless your heart.
Thank you. Well played. Well played. Look, I want you guys to get one important piece of this, which is not just a definition of this phrase, bless your heart. No, I want you to get that, after Melissa, first of all, stood her ground, second of all, then called and talked to me, okay, and got confirmation that she was doing the right thing, okay, that then the intervening came, and she got the word that, don't worry, we got it covered, whatever, okay, but you have to first stand your ground. Okay? They had to first get to the sea, and then it got parted after they got there. Okay? So, she did all the things that she needed to do to show that, listen, I'm not going to be on this post when my post is over. It's over. I'm going home. I got a doctor appointment I already told you about for a couple of months. And, I'm not working on sundown after sundown. She stood her ground. Okay? And then Abba said, I'm going to honor that and protect you in this. That doesn't always happen that way, but it's not going to happen if you don't stand your ground. Okay? You got to step out in faith first. And so good job, Melissa. Bless your heart. Okay.
That's awesome.
All right, Amy.
So one more
And bless
thing.
your heart, too.
Yeah.
Being off meds and all that stuff.
I know. It's awesome. I like me.
Good. We like you, too.
Yeah, I always felt like the Grinch. What am I going to do today? I'm going to wallow in self-loathing and guilt, shame. Those were the bad old days. But anyway, so like at work, I've been thinking about creating a job. And I went up to my store manager, and I was like, excuse me, Miriam. I said, can I borrow you for like 90 seconds? She goes, sure. Because she has friends that are on this walk. So when I approached her when I first went to that store and I told her what I needed, and she goes, "Oh, go ahead. No, it's no problem." And I said, "Well, I was thinking about creating this job as a hostess where I could take care of the customers one-on-one and like communicate with people in the back and like make sure that everybody has the best shopping experience they can have and make sure we do the best we can to make sure they find items. And if they're handicapped or need assistance, they get someone to help them with their shopping. I mean, just the whole experience."
Right.
And she goes, "You submit that and I'll put it to the top of the stack."
So we're going to turn Walmart into Nordstrom's.
Yeah, like for like carry out service and all that, like, So I'm like, I'm excited about
that's
that.
great. I
And
think
so
it's great.
then people, so like I'm talkative, right, a little more outgoing, and my blues coming out a little bit more. So I've been engaging with people. Like I found out this girl, she was like, "Oh, you said Yahweh," and I'm like, "Yeah." She showed me her little Star of David, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm an Israelite." She goes, "Oh," so I told her all about us, and I said, she goes,
You gotta
"Well,"
keep that right.
and I said, and she goes, I said, "Yeah, we can come to Shabbat." She goes, "Well, I always have to work on Saturday." I'm like, "No, you don't." She goes, "Well, I'm always on the schedule." So they can't make you go. It doesn't matter if you're on the schedule. I said, "Go talk to Miriam." She goes, "Who's Miriam?" I'm like, "You poor thing. They didn't even tell you who
Bless
Miriam
her
is."
heart.
Yeah. I said, "She's the store manager, and she has friends that are on this walk. You go up to her, and it's like, I can't work this Saturday."
I have a feeling that's going to come up during the Torah portion.
And so pray for her. Her name is, I think her name's Monica. If you're listening, I'm sorry, but, And then today I talked to another woman.
She should be listening.
Yeah. So then today I was talking to another woman, and she's not really on this walk, but she doesn't like to go to church. She doesn't like that system, but she loves the concept of like the Bible. She's on that, but she's questioning. And so when people like ask questions, I'm like, you're doing the right thing. Just to keep asking questions. And so I wrote down everything. So she was following me as I was working, so I kept telling her all this stuff. So I wrote down all our information. So pray for her. I think
Sure.
her name is Evelyn or something like that. So
Sure.
pray for her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, anybody else? All right, live stream.
All right, from Angela Stone. I'm going to read this backwards, but me 0, steps 3, left foot in boot, left wrist in brace, left arm in sling. Please pray for quick relief. From Michelle in Tasmania. Praise Yahweh has made a way. This week I got a job, and my lawyer is starting the visa process. Yippee, so see you in May.
All right.
From Judy, praise and prayer. I lost my job of 7.5 months yesterday, but got a higher paying job, more in line with my goals 45 minutes later.
Hold on. Read that again. I want everybody to hear that.
I lost my job of 7.5 months yesterday, but got a higher paying job, more in line with my goals 45 minutes later.
Okay. So those of you that are all worried about a job you might lose, what if you would be more optimistic about getting one that's better paying and more in line with your goals? It's amazing how you can go from hating a job, but then as soon as it's threatened to be taken away, you start loving the job that you hated. And you start panicking, well, they're going to let me go because I'm keeping the Sabbath. Or this. Well, maybe that's finally going to get you loose to go do something that's more in line with where you want to go. Okay? I mean, I love the way that was worded. Lost a job, but I then got a better one. Just so you know, that's possible. You can get a better one you have now. That's more in line with your goals. I think that's beautiful. All right, next.
All right, from Christy Sue, I got a job one day before my 1 month goal date I set for myself. Yahweh's good. From Tina Snyder, I finally get to start physical therapy for my knee on the 24th. Workman's comp paperwork is delayed, but has been delayed, but it's all worked out. From Moshe, requesting prayer for peace and safety and guidance in the coming week, and praise my family and me have started the reconciliation process after over 4 years of being apart. From William R., prayers for my sister Janet. She had a stroke and is asking for prayer, hoping for signs of improvement, seeing that would be a good sign within the first 6 months. From Osvaldo Rivera, praise Abba for keeping me alive after getting hit by a car on Tuesday. From Donna Stevens, praise Yah for providing me a way to purchase a phone and unlock everything I was locked out of, and so happy to be able to join you all again on YouTube. And from Simon Gibbs, praise we had a smaller project confirm and pay hours before Shabbat, and prayer for increase in paying clients this week. And that's it. We're caught up.
Amen. Amen. Okay, so another theme that was in the beginning of that also was the idea of the word goal came in more than once. Someone who had goals, okay? You know, I don't know about you, but I do like it occasionally to maybe get a gift for somebody. You know what's easy to do? Get a gift for somebody that's let us know what they like and what they want and what they're aiming at. Hey, I'd like to have this someday or that someday, and then you maybe be able to get that for them, right? So Abba likes to provide that way too, but it's nice if you tell them what it is you're actually aiming at, that you want. You have 2 times things worked out really well for people. One was 1 month before they got into their goal set date. That's another piece of goal setting that's magical, so to speak. Not literally. Everybody's going to have a cow now that I said that. But part of what makes things work is you have to put a date on it. Otherwise, it's not really a goal. It's just a desire. You put a date on it, it's a goal. Okay? So another person said they found now a job that was more in line with their goals, which means they have goals, at least I'm assuming for them to say that. And then things start to line up and opportunities and doors open when you actually are paying attention. Not that they didn't open up before, you just weren't paying attention because you didn't have a goal. You have a goal, and then all of a sudden you might notice something that actually matches with that or aligns with that, or you'll get excited about an opportunity for that. You guys got to learn to aim at stuff, okay? Otherwise, the opposite is being aimless. You're just wandering around aimlessly, okay? Set goals, aim at stuff. All right. We're going to go ahead and open in prayer. It looks like we're going to have Mr. Oscar Ortiz open us in prayer. You'll all rise. We'll open, and he'll also pray for the prayer requests.
Baruch Hashem, blessed El. Once again, we're just grateful for this opportunity to come before you. Thankful that we get to open up Shabbat as a family, and thankful once again for the fact that we have Torah study, being able to learn from our rabbi, to glean all that you have for us. So thankful for that. So thankful for the praises that were lifted to you, and we thank you as well for the requests that were laid at your feet. We know that you hear things, you know all things before they're even brought forth, and so we just give you the glory and the honor, knowing that the answer is whatever it is that you say it's going to be. So we give you praise, the glory, the honor, now and forever. And we thank you for blessing our hearts. For it's in Yeshua's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Oscar. Okay, you all may be seated. Rabbi Tom's going to come up and lead us through the readings. Okay, so let's get our 6 readers over here. Okay, you're going to back up just a little bit because you're still going to be on camera here. All right, if you guys can have the podium more zoom so you don't get him on camera, use a different camera for him. There we go. That'll work for the readers. Good. Okay. We got our 6 readers. Okay, so again, just in case you weren't here when I said this pre-start, all right? So we'll start off with Rick. You come on up here. He's going to do the blessing for you first. So you're going to start up here, okay? Come on up. Bring your scriptures or not, okay? Now, Rabbi Tom's going to say the blessing. Rick's going to read. Pay attention to the rest of you readers here. When he's finished and starts to walk away, the other one needs to be walking up, and Rabbi Tom's going to then say the blessing. So we kind of keep the thing flowing, right? Okay, the book is right here. Give me a second here. Put this out of the way. All right, I'm going to be leaving the mic for the reader right here on top, leaning up against the scriptures. All right, so I'm going to go, and Rabbi Tom's going to take it from here.
Well, Shabbat Shalom. The Parsha this week is Parsha Yitro, and that is from Exodus 18:1 to chapter 20, verse 26. There's 6 readings. And the first one will be Mr. Richard Bohe. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, may he bless Richard, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family, and send blessings and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Amen. Richard, you're going to read in chapter 18, verses 1 through 12.
And Yitro, the priest of Midian, Moshe's father-in-law, heard all that Elohim had done for Moshe and for Yisrael, his people, that Yahweh had brought Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. And Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, took Zipporah, the wife of Moshe, after he had sent her back, and her 2 sons, of whom the name of one was Gershom, for he had said, I have been a sojourner in a foreign land. And the name of the other was Eleazar, for he said, the Elohim of my father was my help, and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife to Moshe in the wilderness, where he was encamped at the mountain of Elohim. And he had said to Moshe, I, your father-in-law, Yitro, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons with her. And Moshe went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him. They asked each other about their welfare, and they went into the tent. Moshe told his father-in-law all that Yahweh had done to Pharaoh and to the Mitzrites for Yisrael's sake, all the hardship that had come upon them on the way, and how Yahweh had delivered them. And Yitro rejoiced for all the good which Yahweh had done for Yisrael, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Mitzrites. And Yitro said, Blessed be Yahweh, for he has delivered, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Mitzrites, out of the hand of Pharaoh, who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Mitzrites. Now I know that Yahweh is greater than all the mighty ones. Indeed, in the matter of which they acted proudly above them. Then Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, brought an ascending offering and other slaughterings unto Elohim. And Aharon came with all the elders of Yisrael to eat bread with the father-in-law of Moshe before Elohim.
Thank you, Richard. Next we have coming up Michael. Say the blessing over you, Michael. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, may he bless Michael, who has come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and bring blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Michael, you will start in chapter 18, verse 13, and read down to the end of the chapter, verse 27.
And it came to be on the next day that Moshe sat to rightly rule the people. And the people stood before Moshe from morning until evening. And when the father-in-law of Moshe saw all that he did for the people, he said, What is this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit by yourself, and all the people stand before you from morning until evening? And Moshe said to his father-in-law, Because the people come to me to seek Elohim. When they have a matter, they come to me, and I rightly rule between one and another, and make known the laws of Elohim and his Torah. And the father-in-law of Moshe said to him, What you are doing is not good. Both you and these people with you will certainly wear yourselves out. For the matter is too heavy for you. You are not able to do it by yourself. Now listen to my voice. Let me counsel you, and let Elohim be with you. Stand before Elohim for the people, and you shall bring the matters to Elohim, and you shall enlighten them concerning laws and the Torah, and show them the way in which they should walk, and the work which they should do. But you yourself, seek out from all the people able men who fear Elohim, men of truth, hating unfair gain, and place these over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s, and they shall rightly rule the people at all times. And it shall be that they bring every great matter to you, but they themselves rightly rule every small matter. So make it lighter for yourself, for they shall bear with you. If you do this word, and Elohim shall command you, then you shall be able to stand, and all this people also go to their place in peace. And Moshe listened to the voice of his father-in-law, and did all that he said. And Moshe chose able men out of all Israel, and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And they rightly ruled the people at all times. The hard matters they brought to Moshe, but they rightly ruled every small matter themselves. And Moshe sent off his father-in-law, and he went away to his own land.
Thank you, Michael. Here, our next reader is Mr. Chris Wybe. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, may he bless Chris, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and bring blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Chris, you're going to start in chapter 19 and read the first 13 verses, 1 through 13, please.
In the third new moon, after the children of Israel come out of the land of Mitzrayim, on this day they came to the wilderness of Sinai. For they set out from Rephidim, and they had come to the wilderness of Sinai, and camped in the wilderness. So Israel camped there before the mountain. And Moshe went up to Elohim, and Yahweh called to him from the mountain, saying, "This is what you are to say to the house of Yaakov, and declare to the children of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Mitzrites, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. And now, if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a reign of priests and a set-apart nation. These are the words which you are to speak to the children of Israel." And Moshe came and called for the elders of the people, and set before them all these words which Yahweh commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, "All that Yahweh has spoken we shall do." So Moshe brought back the words of the people to Yahweh. And Yahweh said to Moshe, "See, I am coming to you in the thick cloud, so that the people hear when I speak with you and believe you forever." And Moshe reported the words of the people to Yahweh. And Yahweh said to Moshe, "Go to the people and set them apart today and tomorrow, and they shall wash their garments, and shall be prepared by the third day. For on the third day Yahweh shall come down upon Mount Sinai before the eyes of all the people, and you shall make a border for the people all around, saying, 'Take heed to yourselves that you do not go up to the mountain or touch the border of it. Whoever touches the mountain shall certainly be put to death. Not a hand is to touch it, but he shall certainly be stoned or shot with an arrow, whether man or beast, he shall not live. When the Yobel sounds long, let him come near the mountain.'"
Up to 13, yes. Thank you, Chris. Next is Miss Shannon. And I'll say the blessing over Miss Shannon. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, may he bless Shannon, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessings and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Shannon, in Exodus chapter 19, you will read starting in verse 14 through 25, the end of the chapter.
And Moshe came down from the mountain to the people, and set the people apart, and they washed their garments. And he said to the people, "Be prepared, by the third day do not come near a wife." And it came to be on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings, and a thick cloud on the mountain. And the voice of a shofar was very strong, and all the people who were in the camp trembled. And Moshe brought the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. And Mount Sinai was in smoke, all of it, because Yahweh descended upon it in fire, and its smoke went up like the smoke of a furnace, and all the mountain trembled exceedingly. And when a voice of the shofar sounded long and became very strong, Moshe spoke, and Elohim answered him by voice. And Yahweh came down upon Mount Sinai, on the top of the mountain. And Yahweh called Moshe to the top of the mountain, and Moshe went up. And Yahweh said to Moshe, "Go down and warn the people, lest they break through into Yahweh to see, and many of them fall. And let the priests who come near Yahweh set themselves apart too, lest Yahweh break out against them." And Moshe said to Yahweh, "The people are not able to come up to Mount Sinai, for you warned us, saying, 'Make a border around the mountain and set it apart.' And Yahweh said to him, 'Come, go down, then come up, you and Aharon with you. but do not let the priests and the people break through to come up to Yahweh, lest he break out against them. And Moshe went down to the people and spoke to them.
Thank you, Shannon. And next up, Miss Kathy, Amy, I'm sorry, Miss Amy. Oh, forgive me, thank you. Big and hard. Okay, he who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, may he bless Amy, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessings and prosperity on all the works of her hands. And Amy, you will be in chapter 20 and read the first 17 verses, 1 through 17.
Hello. Okay. And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, can you repeat that? 20 through what? 20 through what?
You are going to be in chapter 20, verses 1 through 17.
Okay. And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahweh, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of slavery. You have no other mighty ones against my face. You do not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of that which is in the heavens above, or which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth. You do not bow down to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahweh, your Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the crookedness of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing loving commitment to thousands, to those who love me and guard my commandments. You do not bring the name of Yahweh your Elohim to naught, for Yahweh does not leave the one unpunished who brings his name to naught. Remember the Sabbath day to set it apart. 6 days you labor and shall do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath of Yahweh your Elohim. You do not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart. Respect your father and your mother, so that your days are prolonged upon the soil which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you. You do not murder, you do not commit adultery, you do not steal, you do not bear false witness against your neighbor, and you do not covet your neighbor's house, you do not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, or whatever belongs to your neighbor.
Thank you, Miss Amy. And next up, we have Miss Barbara. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, may he bless Barbara, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of her hands. Barbara, you're going to finish the Torah Parsha, reading in Exodus 20 from verses 18 through 26.
And all the people saw the thunders, the lightning flashes, the voice of the shofar, and the mountain smoking. And the people saw it, and they trembled and stood at a distance, and said to Moshe, You speak with us, and we hear, but let not Elohim speak with us, lest we die. And Moshe said to the people, Do not fear, for Elohim has come to prove you, and in order that his fear be before you, so that you do not sin. So the people stood at a distance. But Moshe drew near the thick darkness where Elohim was. And Yahweh said to Moshe, Say this to the children of Israel. You yourselves have seen that I have spoken to you from the heavens. You do not make, besides me, mighty ones of silver, and you do not make mighty ones of gold for yourselves. Make a slaughter place of earth for me, and you shall slaughter on it your ascending offerings and your peace offerings, your sheep and your cattle, in every place where I cause my name to be remembered. I shall come to you and bless you. And if you make me a slaughter place of stone, Do not build it out of stone, for you use your chisel on it. You have profaned it. Nor do you go by steps to my slaughter place, lest your nakedness be exposed on it.
Thank you, Miss Barbara. Now we'll have the blessing of the readers, blessing after the Torah reading. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam, asher netan lanu Torat emet, b'chayei olam neta betokenu. Baruch atah Yahweh noten haTorah. Amen. Thank you for all our readers. And now, drum roll, we'll have announcements with Mrs. Brianna White.
Shabbat Shalom. Let's start by welcoming our guests. So if this is your first time joining us in the room or online, we'd like to welcome you to our Torah study as well as our ministry. And once you're starting to join us for a while, we like to consider you family. And in Hebrew, that is mishpacha. So welcome to the mishpacha. So right now, I'm going to take you through our announcements. So I get to tell you about what we provide as a ministry and some of our upcoming events. So starting with our live streamed events, we live stream twice a week on YouTube and Rumble, starting with Shabbat services every Shabbat at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time. And joining online at 1 o'clock, you can start typing in the chat box, welcoming each other, getting to know each other. So that's for those who are watching online. In person, you can join us at about 12:30. We open up the room, and you can start getting prepped for our Shabbat service. Our service typically lasts till around 5:30, so it takes up a good majority of the day. So I look forward to seeing you all there tomorrow. Then our next live stream event is what we're doing right now, is our Torah study. This is every Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before that, we do a Erev Shabbat here locally at 6 p.m. So if you'd like to join us for that, we do a little pre-Erev service, and then we bring our food and get to eat together. So extra fellowship time. Before our Torah study, we have readers take us through the Torah portion of the week, and then after that, Rabbi is going to take us through his notes that he took on the portion. And then after that, we get to ask any questions that he may have not covered, and also online, you can ask your questions. So get your questions ready. For the children, we have the Parsha Pearls program created by Rebitz and Julie. So this is for the children to learn the Torah portions at their level. We have a website dedicated to this, ymtoi.org, and we have two different age group content. We split them into two different age groups, and so we have our Gem Seekers, which is ages 5 through 8, and the Pearl Seekers, which is ages 9 through 99 plus. And so really, at any age, you can take advantage of the program because it's really robust, and we put a lot of really amazing content and a lot of effort into making this program amazing for all ages. So what is included is child-friendly stories and lessons, lesson questions, Hebrew word studies, memory verses, word searches, crossword puzzles, mazes, crafts, notebook pages, coloring pages, songs, and a snack. And so this is just for the children to really get a full sensory experience with the Torah portions so that they can have a lot of fun with it. So with that, we post the Torah portion of the week starting on Sundays so that you can have access to it throughout the week. And if you have any questions with that, you can reach out to Rebitson through parshapearls@mtoi.org. We do have a Parsha schedule available on our website under the Resources tab, so you can follow along with us and see what Torah portion we are on each week. So we have the dates that correspond to the Torah studies so that you can know what we'll be going over each Torah study. Then we have our Torah Teens class with Rabbi Tom. This is every Thursday at 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So this is for our teenagers, ages 13 through 19. They get to join this class to not only engage with each other, but with the amazing Rabbi Tom. And so if your teenager's interested in this class, it will be on Zoom. So you email torahtime@mtoi.org. You'll get an autoresponder link, and then you can use that for any of the time slots that work best for you. We also have audio scripture readings provided by Miss Shira Wendling. So she read the entirety of Scripture and also read the first 5 books according to their Torah portion. So if you're interested in that, I would go ahead and check that out on our website. So we do post Monday through Friday on YouTube, starting with our first look. This is just a quick preview to the teaching that we posted later in the week. Then on Tuesdays, we got our YouTube shorts and our rabbit, oh no, not in our rabbit trails. Oh, we got so used to saying that. Just our YouTube shorts. They're 10 videos, 1-minute long segments, and they're taken from previous teachings. So it can be from any teaching series. So they're really great reminders if you hadn't seen a teaching in a while, or maybe since there's so many teachings, you might have not seen the teaching at all. So it gives you something to go ahead and watch. Then on Wednesdays, we've got our full teaching. Right now, we're in the zone. So this is taken from our zone meetings. I will talk about that a little bit later, but this is from our Zone 1 meeting, so go ahead and watch that if you haven't already. Then on Thursdays, we get our afterburn session. For the Zone meetings, they're all Q&A, but typically after a teaching, we have a Q&A session. And then on Thursdays, we post the afterburn, which is the Q&A session from that teaching. So go ahead and watch those every Thursday. Then on Fridays, we got our In Focus videos. They're short, standalone videos that are taken from the teachings, but have a really impactful, important topic. And then we're also on social media, so you can check us out on Facebook as MTOI Worldwide, TikTok and Instagram as MTOI_Worldwide. So you can follow us on there, and then you can also subscribe to the YouTube if you're watching us right now. If you subscribe and hit the notifications bell, all of the videos that I mentioned, you will get pop-up push notifications on your device so that you never miss when we post a video. We're also on Rumble, as I mentioned, so if you have the app, you can follow us on there as well. I know that some people do live stream from Rumble, so go ahead and check us out there. We have our very own MTOI app, and so if you wanted to have all of the content in one spot, it's super accessible, I would recommend getting our MTOI app. We already have over 7,100 downloads, so it's really great to have everybody be on the app because we can send out general notifications through there. So if we have an important announcement, it's really simple and easy for you to get in touch with what is being announced. So if you have the app and you aren't getting notifications, you can go to the profile button in the upper right corner. Then you're going to scroll down to the notifications. The general button, if you slide it, it should turn green. And then you'll get all of the notifications for new videos and new content. And if Rabbi sends out an important announcement, and every Shabbat or Erev Shabbat on Friday, he will send out a little Shabbat Shalom text. All right, so for some of our calendar events, the Leadership Council meeting is on February 23rd at 12 p.m. This is for all the men who are in the leadership. We just are announcing it for those who are not a part of the leadership, so we can be praying for the meetings and praying for our leadership. Then we have Rosh Chodesh for Adar. This will be on Friday, February 28th, during the Torah Study. So if you're joining us already for the Torah Study, then you also get to join us for the Rosh Chodesh service. So we are an international ministry, and in an effort to engage those around the world during their Shabbat time, Rabbi split the world into 3 different zones as in time zones. And so what we do is we do these zone meetings all in one weekend towards the end/beginning of the month. So this one's ending of February into March. But we start with zone 3, then 2, then 1. So this is for those, these meetings are designated for those to ask questions. So it's Q&A sessions. So this one for Zone 3 will be for Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Philippines, Malaysia. They get to ask their questions on Friday, February 28th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And although they are the ones asking the questions, everyone from any zone in any country is more than welcome and encouraged to join the meetings. So the meetings are on Zoom so that we can reach as many people as possible. So if you haven't joined a Zone meeting before, you email zoom@mtoi.org. You'll get an autoresponder link, and then you can use that for any of them going forward. By the way, they are not recorded sessions. So if you end up not being able to show up, you won't be able to access the content later. So it gives you a little bit more incentive to want to be there, especially for those. For me, I really enjoy watching everyone ask their questions. So it's just a great way to see everybody all around the world that we don't always get to see. So, and hear their voices, because online, just through the chat, we don't get to know who they really are. So it just brings us closer together as a family. Then Zone 2 will be the next day. So this will be for United Kingdom, Europe, and Africa to ask their questions. So this will be for March 1st at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And again, this one will be on Zoom. Then the same day, on March 1st, we'll have Zone 1 for the live streamers. So this will be for those in the United States, Canada, Mexico, South America, and Central America, for them to ask their questions. Now, this one is a little bit different. It is live streamed on YouTube during our regular service time, but they will be joining the Zoom meeting room to ask their questions. It will just be broadcasted live on YouTube. All right. So if you have any additional questions and you don't want to bring them to a Zone meeting, you'll go to our Contact Us page on the website, or you can send us an email to questions@mtoi.org. And I would like to throw in there, if it's something that you might need a counsel about, I would go and call our office number about those things and schedule a set time with Rabbi. Okay. So something to also mark on your calendar, daylight savings begins. Oh, great, our phone number just popped up there. So, but our daylight savings begins, so on Sunday, March 9th, you're going to set the clock forward. Then the next event is Purim. So Purim is going to be on Friday, March 14th. So with that, it will be during the Erev Shabbat Oneg, and it will not be streamed. So just for those locally, we will be doing our Purim service. So we'll do the Esther readings. With Purim, we also have a Purim Defended teaching on YouTube. So if you haven't watched that, I would go ahead and check that out. All right, then we have our Pesach Craft Prep Party. So this is going to be on Sunday, March 16th at 10 a.m. This is for the ladies. We prep the crafts that we'll be doing for the YMTOI program during the feast. And so all ladies are welcome to come and join us and help us prep for this. And we just ask that that no children are coming to this, just ladies and Gadol-aged girls. Okay, we look forward to seeing you then. Then we have Pesach coming up. All right, so Pesach is going to be April 11th through the 20th. With that, the first day holy day is Sunday, April 13th. The last day holy day is Saturday, April 19th. Something I missed was the Passover meal will be on Saturday night, April 12th. So we have the registration available on our website under the Passover page, and Rabbi will go a little bit more into detail about that. Something along with that, we want you to pay on the Passover page, not through the app on Subsplash, because everything is all going to be on that page. Then we also have a Passover teachings playlist. So if you wanted to, if you wanted to check out what we have there, Rabbi has answered a Passover Q&A. There's 2 episodes, and then there's the Get Out the Leaven, where he explains what leaven really means. So those are really great teachings to check out for Passover. And we also have the Passover Haggadah tutorial for those who are not going to be attending in person and they need to know how to use the Haggadah for the Passover service. So this is on YouTube with links to the Haggadah and the music that's also in the Haggadah. So that is all for me. Now, Rabbi Steve.
All right. Excellent job, Brianna. Thank you. She really does do a good job. All right, fantastic. All right, so let me just add one more emphasis to the Passover. All right, this is that time of year that everybody loves so much when I yell at them. No, I don't want to really yell at you. I want to encourage you, if you are planning to come, register. Don't wait until May, it'll be after April. Don't wait till April 1st. It'll be too late. Registration ends. Don't wait until the end of March, whatever. Get it in now. I mean, if you already know you're coming, this happens like every feast, including local people who I know are planning to come that haven't gotten their registrations in. Okay, get your registrations in. It's the only way we know how to plan for the number of people coming is if we know how many are coming. Again, this is not me trying to get you to come. This is if you're already planning to come, I need to know about it so that we can plan for you, okay? If you're not coming, that's okay, all right? You have your reasons, you have something happening in your life, you can't get here, whatever, that's fine, all right? So this is not to be misconstrued as some sort of attempt to force people or try to talk into it. I just know that a lot of you that are coming haven't registered because you're just too busy being distracted by other things, okay? Procrastinating or whatever it is. Okay, if you're coming, please get your registrations done so that we can plan for the meals, etc. Okay, because here's the problem, just to be fair. How many of you would like to see the schedule for the event? Every hand went up. You know why you don't have it? Because I don't know if we need to do 1 or 2 seatings for the meal, because I don't know how many people are coming. You know, based on how many people registered right now, we probably can do 1 seating. If we have more people coming, we'll have to do 2 seatings. I don't know how that's going to play out yet. I can't make a schedule unless I have a fairly good idea of how many people are coming. And I really don't know, because a lot of you that I know are coming have not registered. But I know you're coming. Of course, all of you that did already register have your eyes like, what? Well, yeah, well, you know. Some people just wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, all right? Please don't do that, okay? Well, I don't have the money yet. You don't need the money yet, okay? You have time until a few weeks before to have the money in. What you do need is to register, pay a registration fee. But I need to know you're coming, okay? Anyway, I'm hoping one day to not have to do that. I don't know why. Why is this not the thing you're most excited about since the last feast? You should be most excited about the next one coming. So excited that you can't wait to register and can't wait to get all your stuff in and plan and all that other stuff. Why is this not? Look, I've talked about being Chag-centric. Chag, the Chagim, the 3 pilgrimage feasts in Deuteronomy 16:16. Okay, 3 times a year. Passover, Shavuot, Sukkot. Those 3, you should be really excited and centralizing and wrapping your, in other words, planning your life, your schedule of the year around those 3 events. Okay? Now, I'm not minimizing trumpets and atonement. Okay? I'm just saying is that verse mentions 3 events that you should be traveling to. Now, of course, trumpets and atonement are right before Sukkot, so you would assume that most people would show up for trumpets first and stay all the way through Sukkot for the whole time. All right? But some of you are still not planning your life around these things. Why? What are you waiting for? You claim to be children of Yah. You claim to be excited about his things. Some of you I know are very excited about Shabbat every week. I know you are. Well, the feasts are even more exciting. They don't come up every week. And they're meant for you to be celebrating. Also is Shabbat. But these are where you get the pilgrimage and be together with other brothers and sisters in a much large, you know, in a bigger way. All right? And so I just really want to encourage you that, you know, you need to get this. First of all, if you're not planning to come, you really should be planning, okay? And if you're not planning to come this time because you can't afford it, then plan for next time. And if you can't afford it, it's only because you didn't get your financing straightened out and get your second tithe going. He actually commands you to have the money to do this. Like, he actually commands you a way to have the funds for this. But some of you don't do the second tithe. Well, then I won't be able to pay my bills. Well, then you have a finance problem, don't you? No, you think Yahweh's the problem, that he wants your second tithe. Well, he wants it for you. He wants you to spend it on you, celebrating the feast. He doesn't want it for him. He wants you to enjoy it. but you know, not enough planning is going on, okay? I'm thinking about, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do this yet, I'm thinking about running a class, okay? What I'm not sure is how I want to pay for this class. I'm thinking of making it something that you would do as a donation as part of a fundraiser for the building project, okay, as opposed to running it the way I did the Level Up was more of a private thing that I did. I think I'm going to do this as a way to support and help with the building project. And it's going to be a class for everybody that's finances are screwed up and are trying to figure out how to plan ahead and aim at something and get that all figured out. And it would be something probably once or twice a month for a couple of months or something like that. We'd have stuff to do, and then we'd check back together the next time and see how everybody's doing and give some new assignments to do and things to get yourself on a track of where you want to be. I don't want you to raise your hand, but I would guess if I asked everybody to raise their hand that's financially exactly where they want to be, there would not be a lot of hands. Okay? All right? Well, let me rephrase that. How many of you, don't have to raise your hands, how many of you have the lifestyle that you really want? Okay? One person. Okay? All right? And again, lifestyle could be at any price. Okay? But even less expensive lifestyles, a lot of people don't have, who can even have a lifestyle that they want that's not expensive. They just don't make enough because they never aimed high enough. They didn't plan ahead. All right? I can't tell you how many conversations. If you are in a very somebody's like, why are you talking about this now? Because it came up. And I have you as an audience. This is your rabbi telling you something, okay? If you've got a job that has some aspect of it that you know you won't be able to do when you get older, where's your plan to change? Why do you get to 45, 50 plus or whatever it is and then realize you can't do the physical job you were doing until you got to that age and now you kind of don't know what to do with yourself? Why do you do that? You do that because you're not thinking ahead. What did Yeshua say in Matthew? He said, seek first the kingdom. That's thinking ahead. Because to seek the kingdom, you have to think about what I need to do between now and then as far as seeking the kingdom. Okay? It's forward-looking. Most of you guys are going to end up like everybody else at 55, 65, whatever, and realize you don't have enough coming in and you can't retire. Don't think Social Security is going to pay you anything. I'm not saying it won't be there. I don't know anybody that lives nicely on Social Security. You know why? Because it's based on how much money you made. So if you never made very much, you're not going to get much in Social Security. That's the way it works. So if you never made very much, you're probably going to get like $1,500 or whatever, $1,200, $1,000, whatever it is in Social Security. You're not going to get a lot of money. So you can't live on that. Well, you can, but what kind of lifestyle is that? Okay? And so I'm going to have to run a class to help you guys aim higher and figure out and plan for yourselves. And this is mostly for, I'm not saying that if you're older you can't come to the class, but it's mostly for those of you between, say, 20 and 40 to make sure that you don't get to 60 and you're totally screwed. Okay? Because that's where a lot of you are going to end up. How do I know? Because that's the numbers. 75% of all Americans can't come up with $1,000. Okay? 95% of people retire, get to 65, and they're broke. Okay? They have to still work. That's just the way it is. And why is it that way? Because you're not thinking ahead. And then, what does that have to do with anything, Rabbi? Because we're reading about a bunch of people that in every story, there's a problem with some of them not thinking ahead. Okay? Every story tends to have some aspect where people are messing up because they're not thinking ahead. Okay? And that messes them up. Or they're not thinking right. They're letting their emotions drive them in some way. You know? I want you to get there. Okay? I want you to get to the point where you don't have the stress that comes from money issues, which is the number one stressor that there is out there. Okay? Some people might say, well, health issues. No, health issues are a problem, but the bigger problem is that they create more money problems, which adds to the health stress. Because some of you are making really foolish decisions, but you feel like you don't have a choice, not to handle something that's health-wise because you don't have enough money. I can't afford to go to get that treatment. I can't afford to get that medicine. I can't afford to do this thing. I can't afford to get these health supplements. That's sad. Okay? And some of it's not your fault because nobody told you how to do it because broke people raised you. So what were you going to learn? Okay, you lived with broke people, you were raised by broke people, you hung around broke people, guess what you ended up? Broke. You hang around worldly people, you get raised by worldly people, and what are you going to end up? Worldly, unless you make a decision to be different. Right? I can say that about anything. That's part of what we're talking about here. These are people coming out of Egypt and now have to make a decision. Who are they going to be like? How are they going to behave? Who are they going to listen to? Who are they going to look up to? Who are they going to trust? Some of you have made very poor decisions in those areas. All of us at some point have done that. I've done that for sure at times in my life. But hopefully you learn enough to start making better choices. All right? And I'm saying this because I know there is a bunch of you that want to come to Passover, but you don't have enough to pay tithe, so you don't have the second tithe. Forget about even paying first tithe. And you're just going to whine about it and not really do anything about it, or it's just you're gotten beyond the age where it's easy enough to do that. Because it really does get harder. I'm not picking on anybody that's older. It gets tough. Even if you got skills, nobody's going to want to hire you when you're going to hire a younger person to do the same thing for less money. Okay? So it's harder. It's legitimately harder. So I have a lot of empathy and sympathy for those of you that are older. I really want to kick the rest of you that are younger in the teeth so that I don't hear this from you. I'm going to be around to hear it, just so you know. And I'm going to hear it when I'm 90 and you're 60 and you're whining. Okay? I'll be here. And I won't be any gentler than I'm being now either. I'll give you a big I told you so. If you were with me for 30 years. I know you heard this. It's not that I knew you heard me tonight. I've said this so many times. You know. Anyway. All right? Because we all look at these stories and go, look at how dumb these people are. Who are you calling dumb? Sorry, did I say that out loud? Who are you calling foolish? Well, maybe you wouldn't have made those decisions they made, but they might not have made the ones you made. You know? You know what none of these people did here in the scriptures? Anywhere, from cover to cover? None of them sat down and watched TV. Nobody played a video game. Nobody used social media. They all got up, worked, went home, slept, got up, worked. You know, okay? I mean, I'm just saying, you know. But they didn't have all that complacency. If they did, they ended up on the street wanting to glean the corners of somebody's field, okay? But you guys don't want to grind. You don't want to get out there and grind. Look, you know what? Every day, wake up, grind. Wake up, except Saturday, wake up, go work. Wake up, go work. Okay? Just grind it out. Work 2 jobs. Somehow on my, I don't know, it was my TikTok feed or something, whatever. When I was just looking through stuff, I started seeing a whole bunch of stuff about, for whatever reason, it just started popping up a lot between Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, like their whole history and stuff. And so I found out there was a show about the Lakers. And so I started watching that and came to realize, you know, Magic's father, the whole time that Magic could remember, worked 2 jobs. For 30 whatever years, he worked at one of the car manufacturers. He got an award for never being late and never missing a day. And he worked 2 jobs. Okay? I'm impressed with Magic. I'm more impressed with his father. He had to do what he had to do to take care of his family. How many of you guys would be willing to do that? How many of you ladies would be willing to do that? Now, of course, if you're going to be, you know, smart about it, figure out how to make enough from one that you don't need to work 2. Now, of course, you got to understand, of course, when Magic's father was working, we had a sort of a racial problem going on in this country, and it wasn't so easy for him to go do some things. You don't have that problem today. I know people say they do, but they don't. That problem does not exist. You can find, no matter what you look like, you can find work. Okay? I know that because I've been to restaurants, and there are people that look pretty freaky. Serving you food. They'll hire anything. So I don't want to hear anything. Now, granted, these people are good at their job, don't get me wrong. But if you're thinking your looks matter or the color of your skin, you're living in a different world in your head. Because, I mean, there are people with any color hair, any color anything, and they're still going, you know, can I get your drink order? And you're like, still trying to figure out what you are. Okay? So please don't give me all these excuses, all right? Please. Please don't give me excuses. That's just foolish, okay? Point to anything, and whatever you're saying is the problem, somebody has that job. Go look for your black coaches, your black head coaches, your black presidents, your black CEOs. See, that was the problem in the 70s. You didn't have all that. 60s, you didn't have all that. All right, well, now you do. So I don't want to hear it anymore. All right? I don't want to hear it from the whites about whatever they're saying. I don't want to hear from the yellows. I don't want to hear from anybody. You're making excuses. Okay? Is there racism? Absolutely. But that's not any excuse. You can still find, it's not to the level it used to be where you really couldn't do. You want to see where racism is where you really can't do? Go to another country like South Africa where you have a problem. Okay? And there it's reversed. The whites can't get jobs. Okay? But it's like literally like life-blocking racism, where you cannot be, you're blocked from things. It was that way here. It's not anymore. Okay? So stop making excuses. Well, I'm not able to get out of the house. There are 1 million people making money at home. Okay? Every customer service phone call I make, I know I'm getting somebody in their house. Every single one. Half of them work in this building. No, because we do have people who do live ops here, okay? But I'm just saying is, I know I'm getting somebody at their house. There are jobs. Anyway, sorry. I just want to encourage you guys, this whole thing, this plan, is Abba gave you the talent story. You know, he gave you the talent. He wants to see what you're doing with it. Well, what are you doing with it? The minimum you could do with it? Or you're trying to figure out what's the most you can do with it? Okay? This is not a financial problem. It's not a physical problem. It's not an intelligence problem. It's a spiritual problem. By spiritual, I'm not saying spiritual like the demons versus the creator. No, it's the spirit in man, your spirit. Okay, we talked about them being short of spirit or weak in spirit. Where's that drive? You can watch two teams competing, you can see if there's the same spirit. When there's the same spirit, the score gets tied all the way to the end. When there's a different spirit, you can see the one just dominates the other because their spirit was weak. That essence of what you are, right? It's a spiritual problem. Okay? Not a spiritual problem that gets fixed by getting on your knees. It's a spiritual problem that gets fixed by getting out of bed and getting out of your house and going to work. And then figuring out what you want to do to make it aim higher, aim higher, aim higher. Because you are aiming at the highest thing there is. It's called the kingdom. Yes or no? All right. Yitro. And actually, there's going to be a lot of this playing into the Yitro one a little bit here. Okay, so starting in chapter 18. All right, we're in Exodus. So we have Yitro, okay? And it starts off where Yitro brings the two sons, okay? And so this is where we get the idea that they were not with him, you know, when Moses was doing most of these things, right? He brings the Zipporah and the sons. And then in verse 11, we have something interesting, is that the point of what Yahweh was doing, what was the point? So that the world, and Israel especially, but the world could see his power. So look what it says in verse 11. Now I know that Yahweh is greater than all the mighty ones, indeed in the matter in which they acted proudly above them. Okay? So Moshe has just told Yitro what happened in Egypt. Moshe's telling him, he says, now I know. That was kind of the point. Yahweh did what he did to Mitzrayim so that the world would know who he was, that he was above, right? So then Yitro notices that Moshe is doing too much. Now, by the way, this is part of the story is honoring mother and father. Part of this is recognizing the wisdom of our elders. So Moshe, who's not a young kid, by the way, at this point, but Yitro is his father-in-law, comes up to him and says, hey, listen, son, come here. Okay? In verse 17, he says, what you're doing is no good. It's not good. Okay? Because Moshe had explained to his father-in-law that, well, actually, we'll go back to 14. Father-in-law says, what is this that you're doing for the people? Why do you sit by yourself and all the people stand before you in the morning until evening? Sounds like Tuesday and Thursday for me. And Moshe, it seems like anyway, because that's when I counsel and they seem to line up pretty good, right? I'm not claiming to be Moshe. I'm just saying I know what that feels like. He says, Moshe said to his father-in-law, because the people come to me to seek Elohim. They're trying to find out what is the information, wisdom, desire from above. They're looking to me as a conduit for that. He says, when they have a matter, they come to me, and I rightly rule between one and another and make known the laws of Elohim and his Torah. Okay? And the father-in-law of Moshe said to him, what you're doing is not good. So it's not saying that literally what he's doing is wrong. He says you're going about this in the wrong way. Your methodology, your process is problematic. He says, both you and these people with you shall certainly wear yourselves out, for the matter is too heavy for you. You are not able to do it all by yourself. Amen to that. Praise Yah that I have Rabbi Tom. Praise Yah that I got Elder Billy. Praise Yah I've got the Shamish team. Okay, and the leaders I have around the world that are leading our extensions. Okay? Because there was a time where I didn't have a choice. And by the way, at this point, why would Moshe think he didn't have a choice? What do you think is important in those that are working around you? That you know them. Did Moshe really know any of these people? No. He barely knew them. He's only known them through the plagues. He's only spent time with them since he showed up and said, let my people go. Right? However long that was, that's the limit of his knowing of these, if we're talking about just the adult males, 600,000 men. 600,000, 603, 550 to be exact. Okay? So he hasn't had a chance to really know what he's got available to him. Right? Now look what's going on here. His father-in-law says, now listen to my voice. He says, look, I'm going to give you some advice. I'm older, I'm wiser, I got more experience. He says, let me counsel you, and Elohim be with you. Stand before Elohim for the people, and you shall bring the matters to Elohim. In other words, keep doing what you're doing. He says, but you, okay, you shall enlighten them concerning the laws in the Torah and show them the way in which they are to walk and what they're to do. But you yourself seek out from all the people able men to handle the smaller issues. Okay, he says, you seek out from all the people able men who fear Elohim, men of truth, hating unfair gain, and place these over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And they shall rightly rule the people at all times, and it shall be that they bring every great matter to you, but they themselves rightly rule over every small matter, so to make it lighter for yourself, for they shall bear with you. Oh, some wisdom there, okay? And Moses knew he was right. He knew he couldn't do everything himself forever. But he also probably had a challenge with confidence in picking the men, okay? And by the way, the men he picked don't turn out to always be the best men, because he had to pick the ones that others said were of reputation. And they kind of like the ones that were the 12 that spied out the land. Well, 10 of them had a problem. They weren't quite the same quality as the 2. Okay? So Moshe's like, I don't really know all these guys, but okay. So he says, if you do this word and Elohim shall command you, then then you shall be able to stand, and all this people also go to their place in peace. They're saying this will help bring everything to where people go to their place in peace. Of course, the father-in-law added that last bit at the end because he was expecting that the people would submit to this structure. They didn't get to the place in peace because they didn't submit to the structure. Okay? Moshe listened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he said. And Moshe chose able men out of all of Israel and made them heads over people, thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. And they rightly ruled the people at all times. The hard matters they brought to Moshe, but they rightly ruled every small matter themselves. Now, this is pre-Sinai giving of instruction. But in case anybody would say, well, that's before Sinai, well, Deuteronomy 17 is after Sinai. And that's exactly the same thing as this. Okay? Deuteronomy 17 says, and when there's a matter that is too hard for the people to handle locally, the smaller matters that the heads of thousands, hundreds, etc. are supposed to handle, they are to bring it to the judges or the leaders or the king at that time. Who's in charge at that time? The one who's standing before Yahweh to rightly rule. And he shall make a right ruling, and it's arrogance if you don't listen. That's literally what it says. We'll get to Deuteronomy before we get to Sukkot, okay? But right now we're in Exodus. But just understand that that's what it's saying in Deuteronomy 17 is exactly the same thing that's happening here. This is the beginning of the setup. And Yahweh endorses it all the way to Deuteronomy 17. Now, do we understand that when it says, and they will be heads over thousands, rulers of, whatever the word here in Scripture says rulers, heads, rulers, whatever, can we actually understand that there was real authority here? See, you today don't want there to be authority. You don't want authority in your life. You don't want to submit to any kind of authority. You don't even want to look and find any authority. You don't recognize any authority except you. Okay, nobody's telling me what to do. So there's just you. That's all you're thinking about is just you, okay? But you know what? The people already have this problem, and Yahweh allowed or inspired Yitro to say to Moshe, look, you got to put people in charge and break them up into groups. Now, bear in mind, he didn't just give, like, the better guy the thousands and maybe not such a good guy the 50s or the 10s. No, the guys who were heads of 10s reported to the guys who were heads of 50s. Okay? And then the guys 50s reported to guys who were heads of 100s, etc. They worked their way up, just like it does in the military. You know? You got your platoon, and then you got your next thing and your next thing, whatever they call them. I don't know the military, all right? All right? All the way until you got the army. Okay, that particular army. Okay, so it goes all the way up to command. But that platoon is part of a bigger company. That company is part of a bigger whatever, right? They're all part of something bigger. And so he's saying, look, you got to break this down into some smaller groups with somebody to have authority over the collective of several of the smaller groups and keep working their way up. So the guys handling the 10s have a problem to go to the guy who handles 50s. 50s means he's handling 5 guys with 10s. You see? The 100's handling a couple of 250s. All right? The 100's handling 200. Handling 250. Then you got the 1,000's handling 10 hundreds. That's a structure that you see in the military. Where did they get it from? Right here. All right. So continuing here. All right. So what was Moshe's role? He says Moshe's role was, all right, to stand before Elohim for the people, to then enlighten them as far as what the laws in the Torah, how that would be applied into whatever the issue was that they didn't know what to do, to make those kind of decisions. Okay? Same thing that we see in Deuteronomy 17. Okay? So another way to look at verse 20 also is, this is the role of the anointed appointed. Okay? To enlighten them regarding the laws and the Torah and show them the way in which they should walk and the work they should do. That's what the anointed appointed does. And then the anointed appoints heads of thousands, hundreds, 50s, 10s. Okay? Now, in verse 21 and 22, we see, all right, that it is that person that is anointed and appointed who then selects and anoints and appoints the next ones. right? It says, Moses, you select them. It says, but you yourself seek out from the people able men. So who gets to decide whether you're an able man? The one who's anointed and appointed to make that selection. All right? So you don't get to go up to an anointed, appointed, and tell them that you're, this role or that role or whatever, without him first assessing you and deciding that that's what you actually are. Because people will contact us and come here and say, well, I'm a prophet, I'm a this, I'm a that. I'm like, okay, maybe you are, maybe you're not, but I haven't seen that yet. So in my role, now if you have an anointed, appointed, and anointed you, fine, then I'll need to talk to him or you go deal with him. But I mean, I haven't seen that. I don't know you from anybody, okay? So I'm going to have to see that, all right? In the past, I'll give you an example. Okay, so in the past, we've had several people come here with papers, titles, whatever, right? They've been ordained or appointed in some way. Rabbi Tom, for example, came here already Rabbi Tom, all right? And so I said, I'll allow you to keep that title, and then we'll see about me actually anointing that title. In other words, agreeing and appointing you at that title, which I have. I have given him MTOI papers to say we have seen and validated his role, okay? We've also had others come here with roles that I've had to ask them to step down from, as far as if they're going to be a part of this, because I didn't see it. There were things they did that were clearly not appropriate for their role. And then they left. They didn't like it. I said, that's fine, you can leave. I said, but I can't have you walking around with that title acting the way you're acting, okay? And so they left. That happens too. But according to this, I, in this group, get to decide, okay? I get to decide. Now, by the way, in case you think this is a completely arbitrary thing, we do have a leadership council, and in that leadership council, I expect to never appoint anyone that is not unanimously agreed upon by everybody else already in the leadership. In other words, it should be a no-brainer. Everybody sees that person already being that role. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I'm never going to go to appoint somebody in a role and the guys will go, who? For what? You kidding? They're all going to be like, of course, great choice. Okay? Because they all see it too. All right? And so I want you to understand that that's the way we do things here. But it's still my choice. Okay? As Yitro knew, it was Moshe's choice. Yitro wasn't like telling you, I'm going to tell you who you should pick. He says, it's your choice. You're the guy in charge. Your Elohim is working with you, you know. You have a role to play. You're anointed, appointed. You're doing it all yourself. Now, I can recognize the challenge that Moshe had to some degree, because I had that when I started, but that was only because I didn't have enough of a pool to draw out of. Moshe started off with 2-3 million people, 600,000 men. That's a pretty good pool to choose from, okay? But on the other side of it, when you start off a congregation with 20, 30 people, whatever you start with, not so easy, Not so easy. I had a husband and wife that was here. This goes back 12 years, so 13 years maybe almost. When we first started, who I thought might someday be at least Shamish's. He might be a good Shamish or even elder at some point. The wife was somewhat more problematic than he was. And so, one day she got in my face and said, well, when are you going to, put in place, church administration, church, structure? I said, there's not a church. I said, what are you talking about? She meant like elders and deacons and that kind of thing. I said, I'm fully planning to do that as soon as I actually know people well enough to, pick one. We'd only been in existence at that point 3 months, maybe. We started in January 12th, and this is probably right before Passover. Okay, we're getting closer now to Shavuot, and the lady's getting in my face going that I'm a liar because I haven't put any of that stuff in place yet. And then she insisted that I hated women because I didn't do what she told me to do. She said, you hate women. I said, what do you mean I hate women? She said, well, I told you what to do and you didn't do it. I said, why do I have to listen to you? I'm in charge, not you. And I already told you I'm going to do it. I still have not found the people that would be appropriate As a matter of fact, I was thinking of your husband, but the way you get things are going here, I'm glad I didn't pick him. Because he's allowing you to run your mouth. That's on the husband too. Okay? Guys, if your wife is running her mouth on the leadership, that's on you. You need to get a hold of that and take control of that. All right? So I understand why Moshe didn't immediately put people in place, even though he had a much bigger pool to pick out of, okay? But when you're talking about percentages, at some point we know that there's this anointing from Moshe goes on to how many? 70, right? So 70 out of 603,550. That's a really lot of zeros in the decimal point before you get to a number, percentage-wise, okay? And so how many do you expect us to find out of a congregation of 100? Probably zero. I mean, the fact that we've got so many and such good ones is an incredible blessing, okay? Because numbers-wise, you go by the percentages Moses had to deal with. Just use your little calculator and divide 70 by 603,550. It's amazing I still remember that number, okay? It's a very small number, a lot of zeros. That's why I put my fingers out like this wide, lots of zeros. But I agree with the sentiment, and people accuse me of not wanting to share leadership. Very happy to share leadership when I have somebody to share with. I think Rabbi Tom is incredible. I think Elder Billy's incredible. They do a great job. They take a lot off my plate, like it was intended here with Yitro, was intending for Moshe. All right? And so I don't need to worry about the things they're doing. They've been vetted, anointed, and appointed. Okay? And so you are very blessed, and I know you're blessed, because you all do take advantage properly of their being available at times when you talk to whichever one you talk to. Some of you like, because again, personalities and stuff, some of you prefer to talk to Rabbi Tom, or maybe you prefer to the elder, or maybe you prefer to talk to me, or whatever it is. Most of you don't prefer to talk to me, I get that. But, the sad part is, whatever you're afraid to get from me, you're going to get from one of them anyway. Okay, maybe they won't deliver it the same as me, maybe they even will. But you're going to get the same answer, okay? All right, so we have that going on. Okay, so, and then verse 23 makes the point. It says, the result, if this is implemented properly, and then people are buying into it, that's the problem, is the buy-in, okay? So you guys are all invited to Israelite status. You're all invited to be citizens in the nation, the scriptural nation of Israel. You've all been invited to potentially be in the kingdom, and it's all based on, are you going to buy into what's this all about? See, if you don't buy into it, we call that belief, faith. That's the buy-in, okay? Fear, doubt shows you really didn't buy in. When the 12 went to spy out the land, 2 fully bought into it, right? They said, Yahweh said this, we bought into it, we totally bought it. He said it's good, let's go. The other 10 were like, I don't know, there's giants and this and that and blah, 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 big walled cities. They didn't fully buy in. What was the buy-in? If you would trust me and do everything I say, that was the buy-in. That's before we get to, spying the land. They have Sinai first, right? Because they go from Sinai to spy out the land. So have you bought in? I mean, this is one of those things. I mean, if you're a poker player, you got to go all in. All right? Fully commit. You push all your chips in the middle. That's it. I'm in. Whatever happens, I trust it. I'm in. That's how much that person believes, unless they're bluffing. But let's assume they believe in their hand. I'm willing to put all my chips in. Right? I believe I've got my hand. I'm going to commit every penny I've got in front of me to that thing. All right? So this is about the structure, when it says in verse 23, is going to result in peace. That's only if you buy into it. Some of you can absolutely give testimonies that since you bought into this structure, since you've been here and you submitted to it and you used it appropriately, peace has been a fruit in your life. Not perfect peace, but more than you had before. Usually a lot more than you had before, okay? Because that's supposed to be, according to verse 23, he says, if you do this word, and Elohim shall command you. So he's saying, and if Elohim endorses this, which clearly Moshe does this, Elohim is endorsing it. He says, then you shall be able to stand, and all this people also go to their place in peace. You'll stand, you'll make it through. You're not going to just drop from exhaustion. You'll make it through this. And the people will be led to this place in peace. Now, by peace, it doesn't mean, listen, he's not talking about never having any strife with the outside world. He's saying internal strife. Because remember, the structure is to handle internal strife, internal questions, internal issues. Isn't that where most of our problem is in here anyway? All right? The biggest battle you're fighting is inside, okay? And you don't have peace, so you come for counsel so that you can find peace. And a lot of you that have struggled inside, who've come and gotten counsel, have found some peace. But only if you receive the counsel. If you don't receive the counsel, you know. I promise you that I have probably just as many people in here that would say how great the results are and the fruit of the counseling is, as I have people who have left that would say that I'm a crackpot who doesn't know what I'm doing. Okay? What's the difference between the two? Did I give different counsel? Or was the buy-in different? Were they willing to give it a shot and actually apply what was counseled? Everybody that I know of that applied counsel got the results. Well, everybody applies anything, gets a result, but they got the desired results. Okay? The one they were coming for counsel about. Okay? All right, let's see. In verse 26, all right? So he chooses the people in verse 25, and it says that they rightly ruled the people at all times. The hard matters were they brought to Moshe, and everything else they handled themselves. So not all matters need to be handled by the Moshe, whoever that is. Excuse me. The Moshe being whoever's at the top of the food chain, so to speak, right? The counseling authority chain. Which is why we make you go to elder first. And then he will filter through and send to me. Now, if you ask for me directly, you'll get that. Really, according to this structure, I should never let that happen. You should never get to me unless you went to him first, because if he can handle it, that's great, and then I don't have to handle it. It keeps things off my plate. All right? But he says, not all matters, well, my notes say, not all matters need to be handled by the Moshe. Let the others assigned by Moshe handle the matters. They, not the individual with the issue, not the individual issue, you get to decide what is, okay. The people that are assigned to that level of handling smaller problems get to decide the level of the issue, not you. My wording in my notes is kind of garbled, all right? But I know what I was trying to say. If you go to me, not me, if you go to Elder, Rabbi Tom, whoever you go to of those two, they get to decide if it's a small matter or a big matter, not you. You understand? So if they tell you, I can handle this, and this is what you need to do, then that should be enough. They know. That's why I have such confidence in both of them, is that they both do a fabulous job of not overstepping. When they are not sure, they send it to me. Okay? Both of them. Well, I shouldn't say it exactly that way. Sometimes the elder doesn't send it to me. He just makes sure you have you on speakerphone with his door open so I can hear it and come in and then jump in and handle the question. Some of you have had that experience. All of a sudden, like, oh, Rabbi, you're on the phone. Okay? That's his subtle way of saying, Rabbi, you might need to jump in on this one. All right? Especially if he knows I happen to be available. Instead of making an appointment and slowing the whole thing down, I can just jump in, take 5 minutes and answer the question and handle it, right? Okay? Sometimes I'll jump in because you guys are not listening to him. He's trying to help you, but you're not listening. You're not receiving. And I'll just have to walk in and say, hold on. You're fighting against the system here. This is the answer. I agree with the answer. You don't want to do it, that's fine, but don't argue with it, all right? Okay. All right. Okay, we're now in chapter 19. Okay? Someone said, yay, we actually moved to the next chapter. All right. Thank you, Janet. Okay, so chapter 19 and verse 4. Okay? He says, you have seen what I did to the Mitzrayites and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. All right, this is pre-covenant. Right? They haven't gotten to Sinai yet. Well, they're actually right there, but they haven't gotten the commandments yet, right? Chapter 19, they're at Sinai. They're about to be given the offer for covenant. See, I mentioned Sinai. We're hearing the thunderings. Okay. That was pretty cool. All right? But they have not covenanted yet. But he's telling them, pre-covenant, okay, you have seen what I did. That is for you to understand that pre-covenant, pre-you covenanting with him, you should be able to say, I've seen what he did. Have you all not seen what he did in your own lives? Okay, that's what he's saying. You have seen what I did. Now, we also get to read about what he did for other people. But he's not talking to them about, well, you know what I did back with the flood, and you know what I did with... No, he's saying, you have seen what I did in your life right here. You've seen it. You've experienced it. You all have that, don't you? So pre-covenant, he's about, literally the next verse is when he's going to offer the covenant. So he's pre-covenant saying, you have seen what I did, so we are to make our decision to covenant based on our personal experience with him. Okay? Not because somebody told you needed to be in some church or some group or some messianic thing or some congregation. No, because of your personal experience with him. Okay? Well, when we do mikvah, I tell everybody all the time, this has nothing to do with me, MTOI, Beth Shalom. This is between you and him. I'm just here presiding over the mechanics of the ritual, right? The ceremony of it, okay? But it's not, there are churches that you baptize into their church. This has nothing this is not a membership thing. People's like, well, how do I become a member? I don't know, just show up, attend. I mean, we don't take memberships. Okay, you're either part of us or not, and it's obvious by your being here on a regular basis and the level of participation you have, right? Okay? All right, so it's like saying, do I have to fill out something to be a friend with you? No. If you and I hang out a lot, and I'm always there, and you're always there, and we always spend time together, guess what we are? Friends. There's no, formal, do you want to be my friend? Okay? Well, maybe when you're 5, you might say that to somebody. But no, you're friends because you're friends. All right? You're part of this group because you behave like and act like and participate like you're part of the group. Okay? There's no formal, ceremony or class to take or some other thing. Some congregations have beginner's class, I have a beginner's class. It's called 600 Videos on YouTube. All right? Start with CC 101. That's your beginner's class. I think there's about over 100 videos in that one alone. All right? I'm just saying, in this case, so that you hear it from the mouth of Yahweh, he says, look, this is between you and me. You have seen. Now, he's not just saying that to Moshe. He's saying, Moshe, tell all the people, you, as a group and individually, you have seen. Because you've seen how I brought you out. You've seen what I've done. Hasn't he brought you out of some stuff? I know he's brought you out of some stuff. Some of you, some serious stuff. Okay? I shouldn't even say it that way. That's kind of demeaning to those who have serious stuff that others would maybe not think so serious. But to you, it was serious, okay? So I don't want to belittle whatever you think is serious compared to somebody else. But it was serious for you. All right? You struggled. You're now delivered out of it. You've been brought out on eagle's wings, so to speak, of your old life. Okay? Okay, all of you have gone through some level of that. All right? Okay? Now, some of you actually, just to kind of get back to the anointed appointeds and the heads and that other part, some of you have had all that experience, but would have had it faster if you listened the first time. Sorry, I was just thinking of some people, okay, who were giving counsel and didn't listen, and it got worse, and then they should have listened, and then they finally listened, and it got better, okay? All right. Let's see. What am I up to now? So that was pre-covenant. So now, for all of you to remember, you have to have some addresses in your head, okay? There are some addresses in Scripture you should have in your head. Exodus 19, verses 5 through 7, that's the covenant. If anybody ever wants to talk about what is the covenant, this is the covenant, okay? It's a very long contract, 3 verses, okay? And now, if you diligently obey my voice and guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. It's funny, it's 3 verses, and I did 55 parts explaining this. Okay, the Are You Covenanted teaching. So you can understand all of the ramifications of it, okay? He says, and you shall be a reign of priests, a set-apart nation. Those are the words you are to speak to the children of Israel. So actually, it's really verses 5 and 6. Okay, 2 verses. That's it. If you would trust me enough, knowing I did all this for you, knowing who I am, trust me enough to do everything I say, then my part is to take care of everything else. I mean, I just paraphrased it, but it's only 2 verses. I don't think I'm stretching it any. I'll take care of all the rest. You just have to trust and obey. Seems simple enough. Now, this is literally a blank check that we're writing. We're writing the blank check because we don't know what he's going to say. Okay? We're giving him a blank check. We're saying, yes, we agree. You write whatever you amount on this. What do you want us to do? Don't murder, don't this, don't this. Okay, keep this, do this. Okay, we don't know what he's going to say yet. Now, granted, he's taught them mostly the first 4 commandments before ever getting here. Okay? So the first 4 pretty much get handled along the way when he mentions and teaches them Sabbath, right, with the manna. When he taught them about idolatry and stuff, right? First, what's the first commandment? I am Yahweh who brought you out of Egypt. That's the first commandment. He actually commands you to know who he is. That's a commandment. Don't listen to your Christian lists that you find in stores and everywhere else. That's the first commandment is just I am Yahweh. That's it. He commands you to know that who he is. Okay? The next commandment is you shall have no other gods before me, and you're not going to make them into any kind of idols, which is the same commandment. See, the church has turned it into you shall have no other God before me is the first commandment, and idolatry then the second commandment. No. The second commandment is all of that. The first commandment is I am Yahweh. It's powerful. All right? Which is basically what he's asking them to buy into in Exodus 19. He says, look, if you know who I am, then you know I can deliver on my side of this. I'm expecting you then to trust me on whatever I give you to do. And we're like, here, it's a blank check. Okay? We're signing on. See, but I think sometimes you guys forget you signed a blank check. That's the covenant. He didn't say, well, let me share with you all the things that I want to do and see if you like it. Okay? You know. Okay? I mean, you know, this is not about your opinion on anything. This is about, do you know who he is? Because then you're trusting him because you know who he is, not trusting him because of what he, you like what he said. You believe that he can do all the things he said. And you believe that he wouldn't give you anything that wouldn't be any good for you. So you trust that, or you don't. Look, I've often said that your biggest problem is you don't see him right. And because you don't see him right, you don't see any of the anointed appointed right. Including Moshe, including Yeshua. I mean, Yeshua is the ultimate anointed appointed. All right? He was anointed and appointed by his Father to do that role. Right? But we don't see these people, we don't see any anointed right. They didn't see Paul right, did they? All of his congregations, did they all see him correctly? Nope. They see any of the apostles right? Nope. I just threw that out there for all of those who just don't like Paul. All right? It's so funny. He's like the Dallas Cowboys of scriptures. People either love him or hate him. Or the Yankees or whatever. He's the one that everybody hates or they like. The churches all think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then the Messianics want to throw him out the window. It's incredible. you know. All right. That being said, okay, so the covenant offer, that's still for you. You know, people say, well, I'm covenanted. Well, what covenant are you covenanted with? Are you covenanted with this? Because all these people say, well, we're in the new covenant now. The new covenant was offered by the same being that offered the old one, with the same expectations. Okay? You know what? Let's read Jeremiah 31 for a second, just to be clear about this. All right? There's another address you should know. It's easy to remember because it's 3131. All right? Just remember one of them. It's 3131, right? See, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I make a new covenant. Uh-oh, there it is, the new covenant. Well, let's read about this thing called the new covenant. With the church, no, doesn't say that. With the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. So all of you Christians in your new covenant church, which one are you, Israel or Judah? Because this new covenant that's mentioned, and by the way, all you churches quote Jeremiah 31, but then you don't read the rest of it. Because he says he's going to make a new covenant. Yeah, he is. By the way, when you read the rest of it, you realize it hasn't happened yet. Okay, because some of the things he says haven't happened yet. But it's with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Not like the covenant I made with their fathers. There you go, it's going to be different. No, the people are going to do it different. Watch what it says, or listen to what it says. Not like the covenant I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Mitzrayim, my covenant which they broke. No, covenant wasn't anything wrong with it. They broke it. He says, though I was a husband to them, declares Yahweh, for this is the covenant I shall make with the house of Israel after those days, declares Yahweh. I shall put freedom of choice, and I can do whatever I want in their inward parts. What is he going to put in this new covenant people's hearts and inward parts? The Torah. So all you Christians are naturally keeping Sabbath, right? And the feasts, and you're not eating pork and shellfish, because that's now in your hearts. See, the difference is he put it on stone in the first covenant. He put it in their heart. Same thing, though. The covenant itself, the stuff, it's just being written differently. One was written on stone. This one's written on your hearts. But the information's the same. So Christians, you all have a problem. Either A, you're not Israel or Judah, so it's not about you. Okay? And don't give me, my pastor told me the Jews blew it. Well, Yahweh didn't say that here. Yahweh says, they all screwed up and they broke my covenant, but I'm still going to renew that covenant or make a new one, whichever way you want to read it. It says Brit Chadashah, which is a renewed covenant. Just like we have the Rosh Chodesh, or a new moon, it's not another moon. It's just a renewing of that moon every 30 days or so, 29 days, right? It's a renewing of that moon. It's not a different moon. Same one. Okay? All right? It's like, oh my gosh, it looks exactly like the old one. You know? So you either have a problem because you're not Israel or not Judah, or you have a problem because you think, okay, somehow you're Israel or Judah, fine, but you're not keeping Torah. It's supposed to be written on your hearts. Why would it need to be written on the hearts? So you wouldn't break it like they did. So the problem is, the new covenant is about creating a situation where they won't break it. Not that the covenant was changed. There was a change in how it was now inside of you, written on your hearts, versus outside of you. Now, how would that happen? By just raising his magic hand and putting it on your hearts? No. He was going to lead them through a life of choice where they would choose, because there's lots of verses in the Heart of the Matter teaching about laying up this in your heart, taking it and bringing it into your heart. Now, this is going to happen eventually in a future time, at least a future from Jeremiah, because listen to what he says. He starts off with, see, the days are coming. So it hasn't happened yet, at least in Jeremiah's day. Now follow this. He says, I'm going to write it in their hearts, and no longer, so at that time, no longer shall they teach each one his neighbor and each one his brother, saying, know Yahweh, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them, declares Yahweh. Is that yet happened? Has that happened yet? Does everybody know Yahweh? Even people that use the name Yahweh, do they even know Yahweh? Some of them know, okay? Because they know him through whatever filter they were given from somewhere. So he's saying they will know me. What is knowing? A relational thing like, Lord, Lord. And he said, I didn't know you. He said, no, they will know me. Your neighbor will know me. Everybody will know me from the least to the greatest. They will know me. We're not there yet. We've never been there. That has never happened. So for all of you telling everybody, we're in the new covenant now. Really? Not this one. We're not there yet. Now, we are experiencing the beginnings of people are starting to have it written on their heart. So they're coming into this new place over a period of time. But we haven't done all this. Jeremiah says, and they shall, right? He says, and no longer shall they teach once the new covenant has happened. Okay? He says, because you won't have to teach anybody who Yahweh is, know Yahweh, because they'll all know me. Wow, that hasn't happened yet. Now, was there anywhere in there that the laws were changed? Wait, let's be more clear. Let's keep reading. For I shall forgive their crookedness and remember their sin no more. Oh, see, there you go. So he's going to take away the law, so there's no more sin. No, he says, I'm going to forget the sin that you already had. Thus said Yahweh, who gives the sun for light by day, the laws of the moon and the stars for light by night, who stirs up the sea and the waves roar. Yahweh of hosts is his name. If these laws, the Torah, vanish from before me, declares Yahweh, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. They're still there. Thus said Yahweh, if the heavens above could be measured and the foundation of the earth searched out beneath, I would also cast off the seed of Israel for all that they have done. Well, you can't do that either. See, you guys are you're buying into a lie. You've been sold a bill of goods. Well, we're in the new covenant now. By the way, that page in your Bible between Malachi and Matthew was added by people that said new covenant. Okay, that's not a real thing. It's just the apostolic writings start at that point, okay? So you had prophets up to that point, okay, and you could separate that by putting Nevi'im or prophets when the prophets start talking, all right? And then you could put apostolic writings when the apostolic writings start happening. But there isn't a different covenant, because that sounds like that. This is why the church did it. That was for them. This is for us. That's garbage. There's no truth or substance to it whatsoever. All right? Yahweh doesn't change. He's not a respecter of persons. He wouldn't expect them to do something and not you to do the same thing, or expect something different from you and not from them. Why would you buy into that? And so you want to know where you need to start? Start with, are you covenanted? Because you got to know what you are and what you're not. Because you're walking around thinking, oh, yeah, I'm in. Well, you're in. I don't know what you're in, but you're in something. You may be in deeper than you think. You might need some hip boots. Because you got some stuff around you that's just not right. Your nose is clogged. You just can't smell how bad it is. Okay? Because you've been sold that it's smelling like roses when it's not. You've been told it's the truth when it's a lie. It's just not true. You get all mad at me if you want. You read it here. Go ask your pastor, okay, how Jeremiah 31 is talking about a New Testament, New Covenant church thing that he's got you in the middle of. Because Jeremiah 31 says, I'm going to make a new covenant with the house of Israel, the house of Judah. And by the way, if you notice, it switches to only the house of Judah after that. House of Israel after that, okay? So, in verse 31, just want to make sure I'm on the wrong page here. It says, see, the days are coming, I'll make a new covenant, right, with the house of Israel, house of Judah. Then in verse 33 it says, for this is the covenant I shall make with the house of Israel. See, then you go to Ezekiel 37, you see the two sticks coming together. So the house of Judah and the house of Israel become one again. Two houses become one. That's literally what Jeremiah is saying, the same thing. Okay? So Ezekiel 37 says the same thing. All right? The stick of Ephraim or Israel and the stick of Judah, and they come together in one stick. and no longer will they be two. That's what it says in Ezekiel. All right? You're going to believe your book or not? Okay? Well, my pastor said, all right, well, tell him to show it to you in the book. Okay? Because it's not there. All right. Back to Exodus 19. Okay. So the covenant's accepted in verse 8, right? Now listen, this is what you need to be saying when you covenant. All that Yahweh has spoken, I shall do. Right? That's what they said. All that Yahweh has spoken, we shall do. Now, of course, Yahweh hadn't spoken anything yet except saying, if you do everything I say. He said, well, yeah, we'll do everything you say. All right? So Moshe brought back the words to Yahweh. And Yahweh says to Moshe, see, I'm coming to you in a thick cloud so that the people hear when I speak with you and believe you forever. And Moshe reported the words to the people. And this is funny because it didn't work. They didn't believe anything from Moshe going on after this necessarily. But he said, I'm going to do this thing where they hear me talking to you and talking to them so that when you say you've been talking to me, they'll believe you. See, but I don't know that that actually works. I don't think that if you heard Yahweh's voice telling me to tell you something, that you would then believe that he actually anointed me to do something. You would for a little while. They did too for a little while. Didn't last very long, though. They got to the land almost right after this, and they were like, Okay? And then Moses told them not to go in, and so then they decided they had to go in because they had to prove how they could add dumb to dumber, or what it says, add drunkenness to... Well, it's like it says adding drunkenness to thirst, right? You know that verse? We talk about that every year. Okay, that's what they say. I'm gonna make this even more dumb. I didn't listen, and he just said he's gonna punish me, so I'm gonna not listen when he said, well, now forget it. You're going into the desert. You're not going in. Oh, now we're gonna go in. Okay, well, that didn't go well. A lot of dead bodies after that. All right? See, this is when you think you're smarter than he is. It doesn't work very well. All right. So I just think it's interesting. It says, so the people will hear and believe you forever. Now, if you consider that it got written down in this book and we believe Moshe, and people have generationally since then forever up to this point, sure. But the people he's talking to right here, and the people that heard the voice, they didn't believe him forever. They didn't believe him for like a month. I mean, they didn't believe him for very long. All right. Let's see. Do I want to cover this? No, we'll skip that. Let's see. I covered the first commandment already in chapter 20. So we talked about chapter 20, right? The first thing is, I am Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of Egypt. Let's see, verse 18, with the thunders and the lightnings. Listen to some of the Shavuot teachings where I talk about the, from Sinai to the upper room, I think was one of them, which talks about the comparisons between what happened at Sinai and what happened in the upper room. Okay, we're not going to go into that here. All right. So this is what happens very quickly, and this is the kind of the knee-jerk reaction, but it just doesn't go well. So the people are hearing this voice. Now, the legend that the Jewish community would give you, and there may be something to this, is that this was such an incredible event because some of the wording says that the people heard it, they saw it, they saw words. They felt it, smelled it, tasted it. It was full sensory. It sounds terrifying, doesn't it? Imagine you're hearing something in full sensory experience. Okay? You're hearing it, you're seeing it, you're feeling it, you're smelling it, you're tasting it. It's like, oh my God, it's very overwhelming. Right? So the people freak out. All right? It says, the people saw the thunders, the lightnings, and the sound of the horns, and the mountain smoking, and the people saw it, and they trembled and stood at a distance and said to Moshe, Moshe, you speak with us, and we hear, but not let Elohim speak with us unless we die. Okay? Now, Moshe turns and says, do not fear. Elohim has come to prove you in order that his fear be before you so that you do not sin. But the people stood at a distance. They didn't want to listen. They didn't want to do it. All right? This is, I think, a problem for a lot of us. All right? We all claim we want to hear him directly. Oh, I don't want to listen to you, Rabbi. I don't want to listen to any other teacher. I'm going to listen to him directly. You don't necessarily really want to do that. The people made a choice way back here, and Yahweh says, okay, I'll work with that. Tell the people I'm good with that. Okay, I understand where you're at. You're not ready for this. Okay? I'm going to talk to Moshe. But of course, what were they doing with the whole Moshe thing? I think to some degree, they were creating plausible deniability. They're saying, well, we didn't hear Yahweh say it. We heard Moshe say it. How do we know Yahweh said it? How do we know Moshe isn't just making stuff up? Right? And so the people were afraid here. He said, but you asked for this. So, by the way, for everybody to, understand, well, they'll say, well, the Ten Commandments were separate from all the other stuff. Well, only because the people interrupted. Okay? I mean, Yahweh finished and said the Ten Commandments, and then he might have just kept going with the rest of it, because he then continues telling Moses in chapter 21 the rest of it, right? Okay? Actually, he starts giving it pretty much starting in verse 22. Say this to children of Israel. You yourselves have seen what I've spoken to you, etc. All right? And then he starts telling these things, but he's going to now talk to Moses. So some of you are like, well, why do I need to listen to a rabbi, a pastor, this or that, whatever? Somebody anointed fivefold, because that's what your ancestors chose. Oh, but we're in the new thing. Well, I already showed you that's not true. Okay? I already showed you that's not true. What about in Hebrews? Yeah, Hebrews said that there was a change necessary in the law because we went from a priesthood that was for the temple. When there's no temple, we go back to the other priesthood, the older priesthood, the Melchizedekian priesthood. Okay? But nothing else changed, just priesthood. By necessity. There's no temple. But there was always a priesthood. Abraham had lunch with the priest of the Most High El, named Melchizedek, or his title anyway. It was Shem. Okay? I believe it was Shem. In a role called the Melchizedek. Melchizedek. All right, that being said, though, the people panic and they want Moses to be a buffer. Okay? But when we're dealing with this, though, understand that, some of you just don't want to realize that there are ramifications to what our forefathers did, and some of that is what we're still dealing with. That's part of Deuteronomy 28, right? The cursings chapter. Some of what we're dealing with right now is still the cursings that were promised in Deuteronomy 28, beginning in verse 14 or 15, whatever it was that we started. Hold on, I'm almost in Deuteronomy anyway. I'll give you the right verse here. Beginning in, there's a lot of verses in this chapter. 15, okay? That's right. All right, beginning in 15. So part of what we're dealing with is that the people could have had Yahweh talk to them all along, but they chose and said, no. We're going to die. Now, the voice of Yahweh, they weren't wrong. I'm going to give you more of a hidden understanding of this maybe, or hinted at. I don't know if it's Remez or so, but the voice of Yahweh kills flesh. So they said, we will die. Well, yeah, you will. You're supposed to. The flesh is supposed to die. If you listen to Yahweh, you know what it does? It kills your flesh. So that's what they're saying is, oh no, he says, but let not Elohim speak with us lest we die. Yeah, you need to die. The flesh part does. So the spiritual can come out, the above has to come in because the below has to get out. The spiritual versus the fleshly, okay? The heavenly versus the earthly. That's when we talk about burying the old man. We talk about all of the metaphors of going in the water of mikvah. The old Jews got to go. But they're afraid, they're panicking. I did make a note in here, something in Deuteronomy. I want to see if it needs to be mentioned. All right, so in Deuteronomy 5, it words it a little bit differently, okay? So it came to be when you heard the voice in the midst of the darkness, verse 23, whilst the mountain was burning with fire, that you came near me, all the heads of your tribes and your elders, and you said, see, Yahweh our Elohim has shown us his esteem and his greatness, and we have heard his voice from the midst of the fire. Today we have seen that Elohim speaks with man, and he lives. And now why should we die? For this great fire is consuming us. If we hear the voice of Yahweh our Elohim anymore, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh who has heard the voice of the living Elohim speaking from the midst of the fire as we have and does live? So the flesh will die. I think that's what it's hinting at more than talking about literally they're going to die. Okay? And that stirred up a fear in them. See, some of you panic too because the old you doesn't want to die. There's parts of the old you that don't want to die. There's parts of the old you want to bury quickly, but some things just don't want to die. And that's partially because you still kind of like some of that old stuff. And it doesn't want to go away easy, you know? All right, then we have chapter 20. This is the last one, so anybody gets ready for questions here. In chapter 20 and verse 20, it says, Moshe said to the people, do not fear, for Elohim has come to prove you, and in order that his fear be before you so that you do not sin. Right? We read that before. So that should trigger what verse? Yahweh has done these things to prove you. Deuteronomy 8:2. He led them through the wilderness. This is them being led through the wilderness to humble them, to prove them, to see whether it's in their heart, to test them and prove them, see whether it's in their heart to keep the commandments or not. Okay? So hopefully you saw that connection there. All right, that's it for me. I hope that was good. Okay. Anybody wants to come up and ask a question, make a comment, share something, you can go ahead and start lining up. Amy, you can go first. And live stream, you can start typing things in. We have a few minutes, so we'll see what we can get in here.
Okay, so I might not word this exactly right. It might kind of sound kooky. And so if we all came from Yahweh, right? So for me, I don't know, this is not for anybody else, it's just me and how I made a connection to help me trust my Creator. So if that's where we originated, we can trust him. Like when he takes care of us, he's essentially taking care of himself in a roundabout way. It's all like an umbrella type thing.
Okay,
because he's not going to set us up for failure.
No, and he has given us a spark of him in us.
Yeah.
And so yes, there's aspects of that I would agree with completely.
Okay.
Okay.
And so then, can you explain like the voice of the shofar? Is that literal, or is that just the vibration, or?
Yeah, they heard something that sounded like the shouts of the shofars, but they were also told to blow the shofars at one point. Okay, but again, it's giving you the thing that they would be able to connect and relate to sound-wise. Okay, by the way, that's also where we then get the thunderings, that we get also the similar things to that in Acts chapter 2, okay, where you have the thunderings and you have the tongues of flame, which would be like the lightnings. There's a lot of things that match up that way, okay? So what we're getting at least communicated is that there was sound that was like a trumpet. So what was the shofar's purpose? The purpose was to get attention because it was the thing that told you that the leaders were assembling, or you were gathering everything up to leave, or you were going to war. So it was the attention-getting, communicating thing through sound and vibration that way, okay?
Yeah, but like, doesn't the shofar announce his arrival?
Yes, and she said, doesn't it announce his arrival? It's also the sound that we're told as far as the last trumpet that will be announcing his arrival, yes. And so the fact that the shofars were blowing when he arrived on Sinai, that would make sense as well. Okay? All right, Michael.
So my question is relevant for this Parsha, but it's also about the Feast of Shavuot. So I guess my question here is, because of the fact that I've heard this a lot, is that Shavuot is when he got the I guess, would this be when he came down with the tablets, which would be before this Mount Sinai event?
No, the giving of the commandments is connected with Shavuot. So it's when you hear the voice speaking.
Okay, so that's here in chapter 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that's how our Jewish brothers would say that this is what was going on Shavuot.
Okay, is that generally perceived as being accurate? Because if it is, then my count might be off because this says in the third new moon, and that would be Harvi'i.
Yeah, look, again, there's their traditions and their stuff. I didn't do the math. I didn't do the counting of weeks to see where they were when they came out of Egypt and everything else.
Okay, just curious.
Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, but they connect the giving of the commandments with Shavuot. Okay.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.
On Exodus 23, you have no other mighty ones against my face. Can you expand on what that means, against my face, when no one has seen his face but Yeshua? I'm having trouble.
All right, so again, these are things that when we see them, we should understand that they're idiomatic. Okay, so it's not a literal thing. So what does against my face mean? All right? So we used to have a phrase, I don't know, growing up in the 70s, 80s, like when you do something, it'd be like in your face. All right? Which means that I'm going to do it right in front of you, right where you could see it, and there's nothing you could do about it, in your face. All right? So, in other words, if you're going to go ahead and put somebody else as authority over you that's other than me, if you're going to listen to somebody other than me in that Elohim role, okay, you're not to do that because that's like doing it in my face. Okay, so it's an idiomatic phrase as opposed to, all right, a literal thing. Okay? All right. A lot of that was, by the way, when you would like dunk on somebody and it'd be like in your face. I just went right on top, you stepped over, you slammed the ball down and like in your face. Okay? Okay, that was, I don't know, did they still talk like that? That was 70s, 80s, okay? They still do that? All right, I don't know. In your face. I probably said that a good number of times when I was younger. All right, and had it said to me plenty too. All right, Janet.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, so I kind of asked this question to my husband, but I want a clarification. When you were reading 19, verse 4,
Yeah.
when it says, you have seen what I did to the Mizrahites.
Yep.
So this is literally talking about what he did when he opened our eyes. Like if we put it in our lives, it's not about what he did, what we thought he did when we were in the dark. I call them the dark years of the dark days, with our previous beliefs that we had. Is this more about what he did when he opened our eyes and after that?
Look, these are the things he did in your life that you can only attribute to him. The things that help you to know he is. Okay?
Even
that could be stuff that happened before you had your
Okay.
bubble popped, but you just didn't know what to do with it then. And now you look back and go, oh my gosh, now I can see his hand in my life way back when he did this or did that. Okay?
Very good. I like that. Thank you so much.
I'm glad you like that.
Well, I mean, it clarified the idea because I wasn't sure what it meant. So I appreciate that. Already, I mean, I like that. I appreciate it. The other question I have, Rabbi, is verse 8. When you said, well, you should be able to say that, like all the Yahweh has spoken, I shall do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Yahweh speaks to us through you, right? When you teach us, when you're counseling us, etc. So, not when we're sitting and just having dinner, but you know what I'm saying? When you're in the role of a teacher, prophet,
Sure,
when you're.
sure.
So, in that respect, we could say that what our leadership does, or says, or speaks, we shall do.
Well, look, it's the same thing in Deuteronomy 17 when he says, verse 11, do according to the Torah in which they teach you, according to the right ruling which they say to you. Do not turn to the right or the left from the word they declare to you. And the man who acts arrogantly is so as to not to listen to the person who's standing before me to represent me. It says, the priest who stands to serve there before Yahweh your Elohim, or to the judge, that man shall die. Okay, and it says, let the people hear and fear and no longer act arrogantly. So it includes the judgments and decisions that are coming from the structure. Because that is supposed to be, Moshe would go then before Yahweh to get the answer. Now, I don't have to do it that way. I've got this. Okay? I also get direct inspired answers too, but I mean, I have something available to me Moses didn't have. Moses had to write it. Okay?
That's very helpful, Rabbi. And the last thing is about chapter 20. I don't have the verse, but at some points, I think it's verse 20, when Moshe said to the people, do not fear, for Elohim has come to prove you, in order that his fear be before you so that you do not sin. So without fear, we will sin. Is that kind of what his fear is before us? Can you expand on that?
You're going to have to go and listen to the fear of Yahweh.
The fear of Yahweh, okay.
Okay, because the point is, if you fear him, which is the
fear.
highest level of awe, reverence, and respect, then you will have all these things play out the way it's supposed to play out. That's what he's saying. But if you fear other things, then you're not going to listen to him. But we listen to him because of fear. Not fear like we're afraid, but we're afraid of something very specific. You don't want to disappoint. We're afraid to disappoint, let down, that kind of thing. So because of the highest level of awe, reverence, and respect. See, oh man, look, you want to get to the reality of today? You know what the biggest problem is today? Almost nobody has awe, reverence, and respect for anybody. The children don't for anybody. The adults don't for anybody. Okay, we go back generations, that was just not the case. There was a respect that was given just because of your position. I don't care what kind of father you were. Okay, I don't know what kind of father you was. Okay, I don't know what kind of father you were, but you walked in the house as the father, everybody gave you the respect of being the guy who just walked in the house as the head of the house. Okay? That doesn't exist anymore. Mother, same thing. Grandparents, forget that. All right? Okay, we have lost all touch with any kind of fear. The awe, reverent respect. Okay? Which is why people treat me the way they do, or anybody in this position, not just me, but I mean, they don't have a proper reverent respect and awe for that anointed appointed. Now, if it's just anybody with some seminary degree, well, I get that, I guess, to some degree, because anybody could just go get a degree. But if you believe the teacher you're listening to is an Ephesians 4:11 fivefold appointed person, then you believe that they are fitting into Deuteronomy 17 and Exodus, where we were reading as far as the anointing and appointing and putting people in positions to make decisions, then you ought to have awe, reverence, and respect. Now, some of you are thinking, this is really important now, that I have to somehow earn that or be perfect or something, or you can't do that. Again, some of you are old enough to know better. Some of the people that pick on me are old enough to know that if you did that with your father, he'd have knocked you into tomorrow. Okay? And you'd have deserved it. Okay? Or into next Sunday, as they would say, right? I'll knock you into next Sunday. And they would have, too. Nowadays, you call it, whatever. They call protective services on you. Okay? So, but that's, in the old days, oh, no, you did not say certain things to a parent. You didn't say anything to a teacher. Teacher whacked you, too. You mouth off at a teacher, that teacher swing out and smack you just as much. You go home and complain about it. Your mother said, come here, I'll smack you, too. You talk like that to a teacher. There's no respect for authority. Now, I'm not saying it was right for anybody to smack anybody. I'm just saying we've lost that reverence and respect for any kind of authority because we get to decide, according to ourselves, whether or not they deserve it. But the position deserves it. Okay? This is why I've said over and over again during political moments that people are having. I said, look, you may or may not like the president. I mean, the people that like the new one didn't like the old one. The people that like the old one don't like the new one. So what? Still give enough respect that the person's president. Okay? You respect the position. You don't have to think that he's a perfect human being, because there are no perfect human beings. Only one came in a flesh suit that was perfect, and that one is not here anymore. He's sitting at the right hand, okay? And so you don't have to say, well, I don't respect him. You got to respect the position. That doesn't give me an excuse not to make every effort to earn the respect, okay? And I do make an effort. I certainly fall short plenty of times, like anybody else. But do you have respect for the position? Because when I'm in the position and you come to me about something that I'm in the position for, then you got to think it's coming, you have to believe that it's coming from Elohim and show that kind of respect. Okay? Now, of course, if that's not the case, then you shouldn't be here. You should be somewhere else and find that person, because scripturally I believe that person is supposed to exist and you are supposed to be covered by that person. You're supposed to be in a vertical relationship with that person. That's what I think Scripture is saying. It's what it seems like it's saying here in Exodus, Yitro, in this Torah portion. Okay? And it'll be the same thing we're going to read when we get to Deuteronomy 17. All right? Where it's actually more direction is given specifically about how that plays out. But you guys have to understand, you watch what's going on in the world, it's what happens when there's a degeneration of respect. Okay? Nobody respects anybody. Okay? Nobody talks to anybody with respect. Just watch two people debating and watch them talk over each other and not respect letting them finish the sentence. That's completely disrespectful. Okay? And so Yahweh's saying, you're going to respect me. And if you don't respect what I've said, I'm going to throw you out of the land. I'm going to do all these other things. And he did, because they didn't. Which, by the way, to me, is part of the proof that he is exactly who he is, because he said he would do it, and then he did it. So, got to respect that. I got respect for that. He said he would do it. They earned it, so he did it. But a lot of people here don't respect. Our children go into the children's program, and the teachers, and they don't respect the teachers. No surprise that they're not respecting their parents either, And I watch parent after parent just lose any ability to discipline their children. More than once have we had women in here with children over the last 12 years, so none of them are here right now, so I mean like in the congregation, but where they have a young baby, 2 years old, year old, screaming, this, that, or whatever, just acting awful. And I watch the parent do nothing. Nothing. It's like, at least pick up your kid and take them in another room. Nothing. Just act like we should all have to sit here and take it while their kid acts horrible. And I look at the parent like, do something. And they look at me like, don't tell me what to do. I know I can tell you to leave the building. You can't control your child. I have some authority. But I can't understand. Why would you just... You're training up a child to act this way forever, okay? Your children act badly a lot of times because they never learned the commandment, honor mother and father. The fifth commandment, if they didn't learn it, they're not going to honor their teachers, their bosses, their rabbis, their pastor, whatever. They're not going to honor anybody in authority. They got to learn it at home, People used to say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. I think I'd fall over if somebody said that. Not anymore. See, I saw the beginning of it disappearing because when I was in elementary school, one of the young guys in my class actually said, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and he got mocked. And to his credit, he kept doing it. Okay? Because he was trained right. All right, he was trained with a certain fear of yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Okay? I was up in a community in Canada. They wouldn't call me rabbi, but they were taught if somebody's, 20 years older than you, or whatever their rule was in that community, you called them Mr. Okay? So they called me Mr. Steve or whatever. They would put a Mr. in there because I was older than them. At least it's trying to show reverence and respect and honor to an older person, Now us older people are treated like we don't know anything. Okay. Good luck figuring it out on your own. Oh, but I've got the guru called Google I could go to, YouTube. All right. We'll see how that goes. I see a lot of people running around doing really well, making a lot of money. I don't see a lot of real well-rounded, good character people, though. Certainly not mature. They have a bunch of money, though. This is all about becoming like him. It's about your character. It's not being a character, it's about developing character. Some of you are pretty good at being a character. Okay? All right, live stream real quick. John was not ready for me.
I was trying to correct a technical difficulty. From Olivia Dirth.
All of a sudden, I went into the 70s with the screen that said, due to technical difficulties, please stand by. Ooh. Right, had that sound? All right, never mind. That's 70s for you. 70s television.
From Olivia Dirth, it's 2 parts. In Exodus 18:22, the last part saying to make it lighter for yourself. I know this is a statement meant for him, but is there anything to glean from making a situation we have responsibilities for, making it quote unquote lighter for ourselves is okay, or does it depend on the situation?
Okay, I'm not sure, Olivia, that you're understanding what's making something lighter. Okay? So if you understood this, then yes, I can show you how it works both ways. So what Yitro was trying to say was, if you share the burden, it will lighten your load. So that you should take for yourself. If you share the burden, it can lighten your load. Also, for Moshe to share with the heads of thousands, hundreds, fifties, tens, that was going to lighten his load. But also, if you guys would make use of that, it would lighten your load. So it works in both directions. Because when you try to bear it yourself, you got a heavier load. But also, I think we should take it from the other direction. Why don't you also help lighten the load? Don't keep running to us about stuff you should handle yourself. Okay? Because I'm about this close to opening up a ministry side business of therapy and counseling and not take any of those calls unless you pay for it. Because I'm almost fall over when someone actually asks me a Torah question. Because you guys come to me, I'm like, what do you want me to do? Okay? Not my job. But I try, and I counsel. And a lot of you do that because you can't afford or just don't want to pay a professional. Probably at least half of the people that are in those situations should probably go to a professional. And I don't mean that in an insulting way, but they need professional help. Okay? And I know people like Janet who do this kind of work. People are really helped when they get good professional help. I mean, people tell me she does a great job. And so, but I'm just saying is, there are things you should, this is for lightening load, you should handle it yourself. So handle it yourself. Stop always looking for somebody to rescue you. You shouldn't ask for rescue until you've tried everything you can think of. Try everything you can think of. All right, make an effort. And then if you still can't figure it out, then definitely ask for help. That'll help lighten your load. Part of the lightening the load is also knowing you can ask for help. That should already lighten your load, knowing there's help. I'm going to make an effort, but I also know that if I need it, there's help. Doesn't that lighten the load? Okay? I'm not saying that you guys shouldn't call for therapy and counseling. I'm happen to be blessed that I'm good at it, so it's fine, and I don't mind doing it to some degree. But, some of you just really need to do a better job of finding those solutions for yourself. Go become experts in your problem. Okay? I don't know what to do. I don't know. Do you know what's wrong with you? No. Well, go find out what those symptoms you have and what you're struggling with, if there's a way to diagnose that. Go find a therapist that will run some tests and tell you you're dealing with autism, you're dealing with OCD, you're dealing with PTSD, whatever you're dealing with. Find out what it is. And then find out what people do to fix that. All right? And so make some effort. Well, your finances, and you can't afford it. Well, do you understand? Have you even done a budget? Do you even know where your money's going? See, most of you do almost no diagnostics on yourself. You just know you have a problem. Make an effort to figure out the problem. Well, I figured it out. I don't have enough money. Well, why don't you have enough money? Is it a spending problem? Is it an income problem? Is it both? I don't know. What is it? No, I don't know. Why have you, somewhere in your life, somebody dropped the ball that didn't make you learn the skill of figuring things out? You just never learned the skill. You know, I don't know this for a fact, but what I used to hear about special forces type, you know, whatever the SEAL teams, like this, the extreme end of the military, they train those guys so they could drop them in any situation anywhere with nothing and they'll figure it out. Okay? I also I've studied many success trainers who do the same thing. You could take them, take all their money away and everything else, drop them somewhere, and they will figure it out and be millionaires all over again. Because they figured out already how to get there. So how do you figure out things? Every time you go through something, learn and become an expert in it. So the next time it comes about, you know how to do it. You know, I'm able to help so many people with so many things. You know why? Because I've done so many things. And every time I did it, whether I did it for a long time or not, I tried to become expert at it, or at least competent at it, okay? So I've got a wide range of skill sets, which was very helpful starting a ministry because I needed to know all kinds of things. All my desktop publishing things, I know was fantastic. Finance, administration, HR, sales, marketing. I mean, everything that I could have learned, speaking, training, skills I've used in 500 different jobs, but I got competent at them or good at them so that whenever something would come up, I have a skill set for it. A lot of you are walking around with like empty toolboxes because you never bothered to develop anything. You just looked for somebody else to do it and you never figured out to do anything yourself. You know? You want to get really secure in your job? Go learn everybody's job. Become that one person that knows how to do everything. Nobody could ever fire me in most of the jobs I was at because I was the only person who knew how to do everything. So that if something happened and the person didn't show up for that, they knew they can come to me. I knew how to do it. And then if something happened where they had to cut back somewhere, they'd always have someplace else to put me because I could do everything. You become indispensable that way. But you got to start, you know what? The respect problem really is the problem. You don't respect yourself. You don't have awe and reverence and respect for that you are a created being from the Most High. And you don't treat yourself like that. You're disappointed, you're mad, you're this and that and all that about yourself. You haven't forgiven yourself and you're angry at yourself and you're all these things instead of realizing the great creator of all things made me and popped my bubble so I can know him. Where's the reverence for that? But some of you have disdain for that. Or like, you know, Esau, you're just selling your birthright away cheap because you don't get the beauty and the majesty of being hand-selected, which everybody will eventually, okay? But he put you here for a reason. Yeah, but my life sucks. Does now. Doesn't have to stay that way. Okay? Why do you think it has to stay that way? Well, because it's always been. Well, it's up to now. What I talked to you about many, 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 many times. Think differently. Add emotion to it. Turns into actions that are different, which leads to habits that are different, leads to a destiny that's different. I didn't say it that way necessarily, but think about it. If you think differently and get emotional about it, like excited positively about it, it's going to lead to different action, right? Because thoughts with emotion leads to action. Actions over time lead habits. Now you have different habits. The person that's having a miserable life, stop being that person. Be a different person. That's all. Just be a different person. Oh, that sounds so easy, Rabbi. Well, it is actually. How am I supposed to be a different person? Think differently. How do I think differently? Maybe put different inputs in than you've been putting in. Think about what your inputs are. I just listened to a podcast, some young kid, 24 years old, is a millionaire, wanted to tell everybody how to be a millionaire. And he said something that I know he's read and heard from all the guys, the same guys I've read and listened to, that said, you know what, I'll tell you exactly what your life is like based on, just show me your 5 closest friends, because you're going to be just like them. That's not a negative on your friends, but if you want to be in a different spot, you might need different friends, or at least to expand your circle to ones that are higher up so that you can move up. I'm not picking on your friends. Because you want to have, I used to use the rule of 33%, which you want a third at your level. So some of your friends should be at your level. Some should be below your level that you're helping raise up to your level. Some should be above your level that are helping pull you up to the next level. Think differently. You're not going to think differently on your phone unless you're actually watching a podcast that's teaching you that, or reading something on like a Kindle app, or if you're maybe listening to something on Audible or whatever. Okay? But playing video games or going on social media, none of that's going to develop you anything unless you're listening on those platforms. I watch TikTok a lot. And you know what I'm watching on there? Either personal development or health. Okay? And so I learn a lot about those 2 areas. That's all. Anything that's not that, I don't watch for more than just flick the screen. And so guess what happens? Their algorithm only gives me that. I only get that, because it knows that's what I've been looking at. But I don't sit there just entertainment with it. What are you doing to develop yourself? Are you believing what he said? How about working on making sure that you covenanted? You said, whatever you say, I'm going to do. And then look at your life and say, are you doing what he said? Are you? Are you eating right? That was an easy one. Are you keeping Shabbat? Pretty easy. What about feasts? Oh, that one's going to include second tithe. Oh, are you tithing? That's a problem. But he said to do it. Now, he didn't say to do it if you can. He said, live your life so that you can. You should be living your life so that's not even an issue. Like you can tithe and it doesn't affect your budget at all. Like you still have plenty to do everything. But nobody told you that when you were 20 and you started thinking about work. Nobody told you. So you have, good excuse, but now you know. What are you going to do now? Are you going to make an effort so you can be at the feasts? Well, I'd like to someday, but... Yeah, but you're only 40 years old. You have plenty of time to fix things. Everybody I know is living not everybody, but the vast majority all living into their 80s and 90s. It's just very common now. Everybody's living that long. You're 40, you're only halfway there. Okay? 35 used to be halfway there. Now 45 is more like halfway there. Got a nice, like a long run ahead of you. Are you going to be healthy when you get there? What kind of character are you going to have when you get there? Are you going to become Yeshua-like while you're on your way? Are you going to have any money to live that life? What are you doing? We talked about this last time. Wake up. Right? I think on Shabbat we talked about that in the teaching. Wake up. Wake up. All right, John. That's a long answer.
From Donna Stevens in 18:8, is this something we should be doing with others? Share our trials and tribulations where appropriate and how Yahweh helped us endure through it with the hope it will help them make better choices.
Okay, I moved back to Deuteronomy 18:8. I don't know if that's the right verse, okay? But basically, look, I would agree with Donna's asking, okay? You should be able to have those close to you that are appropriate for you to share your trials with and tribulations with. So yes, I would agree with you where appropriate, okay? And also to share how Yahweh helped you endure through something. Yes, you should be sharing that too, all right? As far as doing it with the hope that it would help, you always have the hope that anything that you have and experience, especially once you've gotten through it and you share that testimony, will be something that would inspire others to make better choices or to trust him more, at least, right? So, yes. Okay, next.
All right, from the Peaceful Noggin, it's 2 parts. Thank you, Rabbi. I just randomly picked May as my goal, then Yahweh lined it up to bring me out. Do you think when we trust him against all odds and submit to his plans for us, that this is key, meaning like a test they had at Sinai? Thank you so much.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Look, Yahweh loves to operate in the place of no way, right? There's no way, right? You're thinking there's no way. However, he also wants you to have the place of, I believe there's a way, even though I can't see a way. It looks like no way, but I know that my God can deal with the place of impossible, the place of I can't see it. All right? Right? Faith is the evidence of things not seen. You could almost say the things you can't see. It's not seeable. I can't come up with a solution. I don't know how this is going to work, but I believe. I trust. That doesn't mean that every time you do that, that's going to play out that way, but that's a place he likes to operate. But once you start naming a date and then making the efforts to do this, that, and everything to get ready for that date, it will be very often that things start to line up because you've created a congruence between your thoughts and your emotions and your actions. And the Father loves to bless that, okay? This is sometimes called by the New Agers like the law of attraction. But it's not really, like somebody just had a thought and then things just happen. But because you think, feel, and believe, you become the person that has. And you do the things that the person that has does. And then guess what? You end up having. But it didn't just happen out of nowhere. You became the person that has. You did the things that the person that has does. And it developed. Now, things may start lining up because Abba may bless that with things lining up as if they're attracted into the path of what you're doing. Like magnetically, they're attracted to your thoughts, emotions, and actions. So doors tend to open. Other doors tend to close appropriately because you've created a momentum. Okay? So it's almost like a momentum or a vortex that pulls things in to line up with what you're trying to do. Okay? But it's not some mystical, magical, new agey thing. It's the way he created it to be. If you want to change whatever aspect of your life, you have to become the person that has that life. Okay? See, have you ever noticed that there are people that get a lot of money and very quickly they're broke? Right? That doesn't happen a lot. Look at everybody who's ever won a lottery. Okay? Almost all of them end up broke. You know why? Because they were given money without becoming the person that has that money. So the person they were broke people. So they continue to do things to put them back to the person they were. Okay? Other people, when they become the person with wealth, then the wealth follows, then they stay wealthy. They become the person with health, then they get healthy and they stay healthy. Okay? I've seen plenty of people, for example, get a remission on something and go right back and get worse and everything because they didn't become the healthy person. They didn't change their lifestyle, didn't change their habits, didn't change whatever. I watched a good friend of mine basically kill himself with diabetes because he just wouldn't learn. Okay? Just wouldn't learn. You know? And so what is it going to take? Then I've watched a guy like Rabbi Tom. He's outlived where he should have been, where he was when I met him. Okay? Because he became the healthier person than he was when I met him. Okay? The person I met would not be still alive today, I don't think. And he knows that. And he knows that he's proud, and I'm proud of the person he became, that the person that is alive. And he's much healthier. He's much older, and he's still much healthier. Right? Because I've known him a long time. But he became that person. Okay? Anyway, One more if you got one, or whatever. What do you got, John?
I'll just ask the next one from Easy D. Herrera. In Shemot 19, 5-7, and regarding covenanting in 2020, and Deuteronomy 8:2, not to fear because Yahweh is proving us what our mettle is. Our job is to own the responsibility, become proven in our walk.
Yes. Well, you can ask another one. That was easy.
Right. Another one from Olivia, and this is the part where I had some technical difficulties with the question. Part of it wasn't posting in the chat, but in 22, Yah telling them, I've brought you out of a house of slavery, made me think about if I've ever had an awareness of this in my past. And I thought of my teacher in our college class at church, after questioning why we do something if it doesn't match Scripture. And he said, getting annoyed with me, I know Scripture doesn't say it, but it's our doctrine. Is this correct in thinking this is a type of slavery mindset, a doctrine being a slave master and the leaders enforcing it?
Okay, I'm going to say no and yes, or yes and no. All right? It's not a slavery mindset in terms of just, a doctrine being a slave master, et cetera. It's a mindset, it's a slavery mindset that has you unwilling to think for yourself, unwilling to test and prove, unwilling to, the slave is told not to think, just do what I tell you. So yes, I'm going to say yes from that point of view, but it's not just about the doctrine, it's about the mindset that's not going to understand, there has to be a basis. Okay, and the basis has to be Scripture in this case, when we're talking about, the church wasn't going to give you the scriptural basis, etc. So yes, I'm agreeing with you. I just wanted to qualify it a little bit. All right, one more.
All right, from Monica De Leon.
Hey, Monica.
Thanks, Rabbi. To overcome mindsets, trust Him, believe, submit to structure, humble yourself, right?
To overcome mindsets, trust Him, believe, submit to structure, humble yourself. All of that is true, but I think it's missing something, okay? To overcome mindsets, the thing that I'm sure you're assuming is in there, because I know that Monica understands a lot about how we're wired and how our minds work, is that you have to make a choice first. Okay, first you have to make a choice of what mindset you want to overcome and what mindset you want to replace it with. Then you would trust Him, believe, and submit to structure and humble yourself and those kind of things as far as guidance in doing that, okay? But the first step to overcoming a mindset is choice. You have to make a choice. I don't want this mindset anymore, and I want to replace it with this, okay? And so it's choice. Or the choice may be, I want this mindset, which requires me to let go of these other thinking processes because they're not in line with this new mindset that I'm going to have, okay? Because you may have multiple things that are, quote, mindsets that are not going to be synergistic with the new one you want to put in place, okay? All right? Okay, so yes, Monica, well said, but I just want to make sure that you may have already presumed that the choice was there, because I know that probably is where you are, but you didn't write it, so I want to make sure everybody heard that, though. Okay? All right, next.
All right, from Annabelle. Rabbi, can you help me understand 19:21?
No, I'm kidding. I like to tease Annabelle. That's okay.
21 and 22, Yahweh tells Moshe, let the priests who come near Yahweh, were there priests already appointed at this time?
All right, so I didn't talk about the boundaries, and I didn't talk about these things in chapter 19, because I didn't want to have to get into all of that. Well, just because it didn't really fit into everything else we were talking about at the time, okay? So when it says, let the priests come near Yahweh, were there priests? Okay, so it says here in 19:21, Yahweh said to Moshe, go down and warn the people, lest they break through unto Yahweh to see, and many of them fall. Let the priests come near Yahweh, set themselves apart too. who come near to Yahweh set themselves apart too, lest Yahweh break them out. Okay, so the question, well, who are these priests? All right. I would say that remember, Moses is writing this way after the fact, later in life, and documenting things for us. There were probably these are the leaderships. These are the representatives. They would be the ones who had, again, a priest is what? Someone who stands before Yahweh to serve in some capacity. Okay? So we're not talking about priests as we normally think of them only, okay, as in the Levites or the Melchizedekian, because Yahweh explains a priest is one who stands before me to serve. So this could easily be those people assigned to the leadership to represent the people, that they could come up because they're going to be there as witnesses to what I'm doing to then share that with those that they represent. So that would be my guess here. Otherwise, you're asking a really good question. Well, who are these priests? There weren't any priests yet, right? Okay, so that would be my guess. All right, next. And this will be the last one.
All right, from Ken Bishop in Exodus 20:20, would it be correct understanding not only linking with Deuteronomy 8:2, but also 2 Timothy 3:5, that without proper fear of Elohim, our form of reverence will be empty and lacking power?
Okay, without going to 2 Timothy, what you said, I would agree with 100%. Okay? So I'm assuming that's what 2 Timothy says, but I won't have time to go look at it right this second. So yes, Ken, I would agree with you. Okay? All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. All right, we're going to close things up with Mr. David Klein, if you'll all rise.
Avinu Makeno, our Father, our King, we come before you at the close of the teaching of the Torah. My Rabbi Steve, I want to thank you for giving us our leadership to instruct us on how we should look at your set-apart ways, follow your set-apart ways, give us the way. We can be better, more improved versions of ourselves to come before we can be with you when you come back. We can spend time with you and be that improved person. I'll thank you for blessings you have given us this week. We praise the praises and the prayers that we have to you, for you, and ask your prayers. You see, hear our prayers. And guide us into tomorrow. Continue our teaching in the covenants by our leadership. And we pray that we get home and safe and we can return later today. I say these things in your Son's name, Yeshua Mashiach. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right. You want to wave goodbye to the live stream crowd that's going to come on this side of the room? All right. We're about ready here? All right. All right, so we want to go ahead and connect with our live stream family and tell them all to bless their hearts. No, I'm kidding. That was a joke for all of you yellow people. Okay. We want to connect with our live stream family. We want to wish them all a Shabbat Shalom and tell them that we love them. On three. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.